Valentine! Yeah! Dinosaurs Attack. Dinosaurs fucking Attack. This is one of my favorite trading card series of all time. Dinosaurs Attack came out in 1988. I was just a little kid back then, but I was a dinosaur fanatic. The series was meant to be a homage to the Mars Attacks card series of the 60s, in which little aliens come and just wreak havoc all over the planet. But in this series, these dinosaurs f***ing slaughter everybody they come by. Look at what is happening in these pictures. This dinosaur is eating children in a classroom. This one is eating children out of a school bus. This f***ing dinosaur is downright stepping on a dog. Yeah, they killed a dog while a little girl watches in horror. This series didn't give a f***. And the crazy part about it is, they used to sell this stuff on the counters at comic book stores, toy stores, 7-Elevens, card stores, places like that. Right next to your baseball cards or Batman the movie cards. They were just mixed in. There was no content warnings. There was no children under the 18 need parent guidance. There was none of that nonsense. Yeah, and you know, as far as I know, no controversy kicked up on this one. I haven't read anything online, but you can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. So here's what you got back then. 25 cents got you a pack of Dinosaurs Attacks. You got 5 cards, a sticker, and a stick of bubblegum in every pack. There are 3 different wrappers for this card set. The good news is there's only 55 cards in this series. So if you were collecting it by pack, and maybe if you had friends that were trading, you can get this complete set pretty quickly. So here's what I love about Dinosaurs Attacks, and I think you guys know I appreciate something like this. There was actually a plot. There was a full story from beginning to end, and if you had the entire card series, you can see the story unfold. But since you had to get them in packs, you always got scattered fragments out of order, and that kind of added to the storytelling experience. So the story goes like this. There's this group of scientists in a satellite called Prometheus, and they're testing out this device that basically beams a projection of the past onto Earth so that they can look into the past. In this case, they wanted to look into the past and see what killed the dinosaurs. Now remember, back in the 80s, what killed the dinosaurs was still a huge mystery. Like these days, scientists are kind of leaning on certain theories, but back then, nobody knew what killed the dinosaurs. It could be boredom for all we knew. So something goes wrong, of course, and these 2 evil eyes appear, and instead of projecting the past onto Earth, the machine brings the past to Earth, and it brings dinosaurs all across the eras, Jurassic, Cretaceous, you name it, onto Earth. And what do? They immediately just start massacring us. And it didn't matter if you were a meat eater, a plant eater, you didn't even have to technically be a dinosaur, but you just wanted to kill. I mean, I was a smart dinosaur kid. I was the only kid in elementary school that knew how to spell Mesozoic and things like that. So even when I was that young, I called bullshit. These dinosaurs are not as humongous as the cards make them out to be, and most of them definitely aren't this bloodthirsty. But you know what? I didn't care. The art is amazing and so detailed. And the story was just captivating. Because you find out that there's actually a evil demon, a Satanosaurus, who's behind the whole thing. This card series has a main villain. His name is the Supreme Monstrosity. How rad is that? I have the same nickname for my and it was really cool that you were always guaranteed a sticker in each pack. And I like how the stickers kind of try to sort of be a little educational and tell you a little bit more about the dinosaur, but of course they couldn't resist the opportunity for more blood-soaked artwork. And a few quick references to Kaiju here. This card is clearly a reference to Toho creating a Godzilla film. And I've always thought this dinosaur looks a lot like Gorgo. I'm pretty sure that's intentional. Another cool thing is the backs of every card are different. There's not really one set template for this. Sometimes it was from the diary of the scientists working in the space station. Sometimes it was a news reporter on the scene. Sometimes it was fake newspapers reporting on the terrible events going on. But this one's always creeped me out. Clearly you see a Triceratops has decided to impale a bride and a groom on a wedding day, which I gotta say, if I'm gonna go out, that's not a bad way to go. But the back of the card is just a card from their reception with little droplets of blood. How f***ing morose is that? The team behind this card series was out to traumatize children. And it probably did, but in cases like me, and I'm sure the majority, instead it just sparked imagination. When you're creating fiction, anything goes. You could do whatever you want. There's no limits. If you want the dinosaurs to be bloodthirsty in the size of buildings, go for it. When you're creating something, you can make whatever you want. That is so cool. I'm not going to spoil how the story ends for you guys. You could definitely check that out. And here's the good news, the card series really isn't worth very much. I've seen eBay auctions recently going for mint condition complete set only $14. I got this display box just because it looks cool, but also it's so dirt cheap. I think I paid less than $20 plus shipping for it. Maybe one day these will become a collector's item like Mars Attacks. So if you're thinking about it, I would say check out eBay and grab what you can while you can get it so cheap. And if you want to cheat and just look at digital copies of the front and back of every single card, they're online. Just go to the Dinosaurs Attack section at Bob Hefner's website. And if you want to experience the story in comic book form, very recently IDW published the Dinosaurs Attack miniseries. It features the exact same story as the cards and most of the same art. If you decide to check out Dinosaurs Attack, or if you already know about it, please, by all means, hit the comments. Let's talk about it. I hope you guys enjoyed me sharing a little piece of my collection with you, and I look forward to sharing more in the near future. Thanks, guys. Playtime! Yay! There are a bajillion superhero action figures in the world, so it's hard to believe in the early 70s, if you wanted to play with your favorite comic book characters, your options were extremely limited. But that all changed thanks to one company called Mego, who successfully licensed both DC and Marvel properties in 1972.
Superman, the Man of Steel. Captain America, fighting injustice the world over.
Isn't it crazy to see DC and Marvel heroes in the same toy commercial?
Falcon, that great black superhero.
Wait, what the f*** did he just say? Although history associates the Mego name with their action dolls, Mego did create a line of smaller figures called pocket superheroes. Some consider these the very first traditional superhero action figures. Mego Toys has a long and interesting history, but that's not what we're here to discuss today.
Coming from the farthest reaches of the universe to challenge the worst villains on Earth are the most powerful heroes ever in the Battle of the Superpowers Collection.
In 1984, a year after Mego shut down, DC Comics licensed their heroes to Kenner, who created the Superpowers toy collection. It was a great fit. Kenner had recently become a major player in the toy world thanks to some movie I never heard of called
The Star Wars.
Now, originally Mattel, the makers of He-Man, had approached DC for licensing, but they lost the deal to Kenner. So, Mattel went to Marvel, and Marvel was on board. But since there was no cartoon show to push the brand like He-Man, Mattel was adamant that Marvel create a special publication to tie into the toy launch. Comic fans were constantly demanding a big epic story with all their favorite heroes and villains, so this was an easy demand for Marvel to fulfill. According to Jim Shooter, then editor-in-chief at Marvel, Mattel had conducted focus groups and found that kids reacted positively to the words wars and secret. Thus, War Secret was born. Secret Wars was born.
Secret Wars. What's Dr. Doom's mission? Secret Shield? Ah, Zap Captain America with my Doom Roller.
Secret Wars. They're coming from the east. Iron Man, fly over and attack them from the back. But shh, it's a secret. Thor, don't tell anyone, but take down their soldiers. Hulk, smash. Quietly. I should also point out that Mattel went f***ing nuts with this license. In addition to figures, there were stickers, lunch boxes, whatever the f*** this is, whatever that is. What is that? The first wave of Secret Wars figures included Captain America, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Wolverine, Dr. Doom, Magneto, Kang, and Dr. Octopus. Every figure came with a shield that held lenticular images, which would display morphing images including the hero's secret identity? Secret Wars. Alright, everyone got their shields ready? Wait, you have shields now? But shields are my thing. Well, now we all have shields, Cap. Your whole costume is a shield. Wait, my shield is revealing a secret message. It turns out I'm Tony Stark. You didn't just hear that. Secret Wars. Actually, here's a little fun fact. At the time of the comic series, Iron Man was actually Jim Rhodes and not Tony Stark. So is this the first ever Jim Rhodes action figure? Well, the back of the card says it is, but then his shield reveals Tony Stark. So I'll let you draw your own conclusion. It's clear that Mattel was focusing more of their energy on the He-Man line, with Secret Wars being a secondary priority. Production costs were purposely kept very low by repainting the basic sculpts to create new characters and making the figures considerably smaller than the He-Man characters. Plus, the Secret Wars figures only had 5 points of articulation. And 5 points was all we needed, you Mattel also paid little mind to the actual Secret Wars comic book. For example, the back of each figure would include stats of the character as well as a mini comic strip. Here you can clearly see that the story going on in the toy universe had very little to do with what was happening in the Secret Wars comic series. Yes, they both used the plot that the characters were transported to a strange planet by a force from beyond, but after that, you don't get the sense that the two Secret Wars are related. The two Secret Warses. Mattel also made vehicles and playsets that did not appear in the comics at all. And when Mattel released Wave 2 of the action figures, they basically said F it by releasing characters absent from the comic event, including Hobgoblin, Falcon, Daredevil, and Baron Zemo. Since characters like the Hulk would require a new body sculpt, they just weren't in the cards yet. More on that later. But Wave 2 did give us the very first black costume Spider-Man figure, and the comic strip on this card is similar to what happened in the comic series. To Mattel's credit, Wave 2 did get a little more creative with the accessories. Hobgoblin has his signature glider, Falcon has Red Wing, and Daredevil has his clubs. The Secret Wars comic book was a huge success for Marvel. It spawned a sequel, and Marvel still uses the name for events to this day. But the Secret Wars toy line did not match the success of DC's superpowers, so it ended very quickly and quietly. Wave 3 only saw a foreign release, and it only included 3 characters: Iceman, Electro, and Constrictor. You guessed it, none of these 3 were in the comic series. But here's where some collector lore comes into play. If you visit Action Figure Insider, you'll find the confirmed production art that surfaced for the lenticular images of characters that were never produced, and Hulk would have rounded out the rest of Wave 3 along with Mystique. Then Wave 4 would have included Abomination, using Hulk's mold, along with Mr. Fantastic, Annihilus, Thunderball, and Dazzler? Hey, it was the 80s. I love Secret Wars because the comic series is what first got me into Marvel Comics, and to this day, Spider-Man in his black costume is my favorite Marvel character. I remember as a kid, I decided to collect these figures very late in the game. By the time I was looking for them in stores, the toy line was already cancelled, and all I could find were a bunch of Kangs. So many Kangs. But now as an adult, I finally finished my collection. So if you want to collect Secret Wars figures mint in package, here's what you need to know. The bubbles on these cards yellow from sunlight very easily. If you search eBay, you're going to find a lot of figures with yellow bubbles. I mostly avoided this, but you can see my Hobgoblin is beginning to yellow here. It's surprisingly not too difficult to find unpunched cards, but it's extremely difficult to find cards without price stickers. If good condition, no yellowing, and no stickers are your standards, figures may run you anywhere between $100 to $300 each. If condition isn't an issue, you'll spend significantly less. If you want to collect the figures loose, it will only be about $10 to $20 each. However, you should consider 2 things. 1, the paint from these figures rubs off very easily from normal play. Look at this old Spidey figure and compare it to the one still in the package. And number 2, if you can, try to find figures that still have some nice stiffness in their joints for easy posability. Also, there's a Wolverine variant out there where he has black claws instead of gray claws. I'm not sure what the story is there, but I know the black claw version is rarer and will be more expensive on eBay. So thanks for letting me share my collection with you. I hope you enjoyed this insight, and I will see you next time. Secret Wars. The Monster Island Buddies Halloween special has been postponed and will premiere next week. I'm sorry! In the meantime, please enjoy this totally rushed and unscripted video. Playtime! Yay! Greetings and welcome to Playtime, where we celebrate imagination, we play together, and maybe learn something we didn't know. Today we're gonna mix things up a bit. Over on Twitter, Let's Talk Baragon let me know that I was tagged in a YouTube video. You see, a few months back, YouTuber Monstrosities started a tag game for Kaiju YouTubers to answer 5 random questions. Then recently, I was tagged by JW, who thought I'd never see his video, but joke's on you, JW! Let's answer some random questions. My favorite drink is rum and coke. That wasn't one of the questions, I'm just answering that anyway. Number 1. What was the first kaiju film you ever saw? When I was young, maybe 5 or 6, my mother picked me up a VHS copy of Godzilla vs. Megalon. I think she just randomly brought it home for me. It was probably the most readily available Godzilla home video at that time, so I imagine that many G fans around my age would have the same answer. You know, back in pre-internet days when television only had like 20 channels, home videos had a lot more replay value, so I watched that tape a lot. I couldn't follow the plot, and the human stuff bored me to tears, but man, did I love that fight at the end. As a movie, it's not that great, but Godzilla vs. Megalon will always have a special place in my heart. Question 2. What was the first piece of kaiju merchandise that you ever owned? Well, actually, that's the same answer as number 1, but I'll tell you about my first toy, too. I remember when I was a preteen, I saw a show on TV where a guy made a small city out of Legos, and then he used a vinyl Godzilla toy to smash the Lego city. My imagination went nuts. I wanted to do that too. I already had the Legos, but I didn't have a Godzilla toy, so I asked my mom for one. I could be wrong, but I think I wound up getting this Godzilla, making it officially my first Godzilla toy. I have no idea what happened to it. Question 3. What are your hopes for Godzilla King of the Monsters American sequel? Well, I hope it's a really good movie. Specifically, I hope there's at least one human protagonist who's like well developed and we could focus on that one character instead of them flooding the film with 100 new half-baked characters. Also, I hope the monsters still retain some color in their design. I don't really want to see overly dark and gritty versions of these monsters. What is your fanfiction idea brought to life? Ho ho ho! Man, I have a lot, to be honest. I'm sure most of you do. Alright, I'll share one random one. I've always liked the idea of a Mad Max-style post-apocalyptic film where monsters have already ravaged the Earth and very small pockets of humans are just forming new communities trying to get by. Then one day, a young guy in the group who is our protagonist finds the half-buried remains of an old combat Mechagodzilla. Then the rest of the film is about him traveling across America and seeing what's become of it in this old beat-up Mechagodzilla. And then you could do anything. You could say he finds a group of humans that like really worship Mothra as their god and create a whole citadel around her. Maybe he comes across a cult that drinks the blood of a dead Baragon and it makes them all insane. Maybe he has to fight off some diseased monsters like Rodan, who's foaming at the mouth and has some form of rabies. You can literally do anything with this scenario. And of course, at the end, he's got to find out that somehow it's really the humans' fault that the Earth is such a wreck. Anyway, that's just one silly idea. What underrated kaiju do you really like, but that seems to get overlooked by everyone in the fandom? I'm gonna say Zilla. Yeah, that's right. You know, fans of his cartoon series know that he's pretty badass, and they've recently turned me on to the show. In a catalog of slow, lumbering monsters, I like that there's one who's really fast and nimble and who can both swim and burrow. Zilla's got some really cool abilities, and I don't think his movie utilized them well enough, but we have the cartoon for that. Cool, those are my questions, so now I guess I tag 4 peeps and give them 5 new questions. So I shall tag Teddy Rubskin, Kaiju Movie Review, Steven's Toy Reviews, and what the hell, Switchboard seems to really want in on this, so let's make his day. And I apologize if any of you are already tagged. You could just ignore this video then, I don't care. Alright, your questions are, what's something stupid about Godzilla that's always bugged you? You know, it could be that he never eats, or we don't know what that whole poop situation is. Or it could be about the franchise as a whole, like too many reboots. I don't want to be overly negative, I just want to playfully vent together. Number 2, what's one of your most sentimental Godzilla objects or pieces of merchandise? Like if the house was burning down and you could save one thing, what would it be? It could be anything as long as it has value to you. Number 3, what creature or object outside of the Toho franchise would you like to see Godzilla fight? It could be anything or anyone. Godzilla vs. Neo from the Matrix, Godzilla vs. the Death Star, Godzilla vs. Sharknado. Literally anything you want that might make for a cool fight. And don't say Gamera, man. That's way too obvious. Number 4, if you could own a movie-accurate kaiju costume at no cost, what specific one would you want to own, and what would you do with it? Like, if you pick Godzilla, tell us the specific form, and, would you wear it? Would you put it up on a display? Would you make love to it? Hey, no judgment here, man. Number 5, your significant other thinks monster movies are for babies. Deal breaker? And of course I invite all of you watching to answer in the comments below and play along. You can answer JW's questions, you can answer my questions, both, neither, whatever, it's a party, let's have some fun. And thank you for playing together, new MIB next week, thanks for the patience on that, I'll see you guys real soon. Playtime! Yay! Greetings and welcome to Playtime, where we celebrate imagination, play together, and maybe even learn something we didn't know. In the late 90s, Godzilla went mainstream again here in the States, maybe due to the hype for the upcoming TriStar film. Perhaps riding that hype train, American book publisher Random House released a couple of Godzilla-themed children's books, Godzilla Likes to Roar and Who's Afraid of Godzilla, both which were published in 1998. Now, when I think of a Godzilla book aimed at small children, I imagine the art might look cutesy, not unlike how the kaiju appeared in Godzillaland. And that would have been perfectly acceptable. But for whatever reason, both of these books are illustrated by Bob Eggleton, arguably the best Godzilla illustrator ever! You might know Eggleton's Godzilla art from various magazine and book covers over the last couple of decades, not to mention his more recent contributions to IDW Comics, including issue 2 of Godzilla in Hell. Now, over on Twitter, I put up a poll on which book you guys would like to see me read on the show. You guys want Who's Afraid of Godzilla? And I am at your service. We'll just get rid of this. The text in Who's Afraid of Godzilla is credited to Kaiju, which I'm assuming is a pseudonym. Anyway, get tucked in, kiddies, it's story time. Monster Island was the home of all the Earth's giant monsters, and every day the monsters played on the island's sunny beach. Gigan and Megalon wrestled, Anguirus chased Varan's tail, Manda swam in the ocean, and Rodan flew in circles, high above the sand. But not all the monsters played together. One monster sat alone. So I'll say this, if you don't know your kaiju, this might be a tough story to follow. There are more than a few in here, and the book is not wasting time with introductions. We even get Varan and Manda, that's pretty cool. But what are Megalon and Gigan doing on Monster Island? Megalon's supposed to live underground, and Gigan's from outer space. Anyway, sorry for interrupting. From the top of the island's tallest volcano, Godzilla watched the other monsters play. He wanted to join in the fun, but he knew they didn't want to play with him. Godzilla was the biggest, strongest, and toughest of all the monsters. Because he was so powerful, the others were afraid of him. They always ran away when he came near. Somebody make this picture a meme right now! Sad Godzilla! Go, go, go! One day, the monsters were having so much fun that Godzilla couldn't stop himself. He just had to join them. He jumped to his feet and ran down the side of the volcano, roaring with excitement. His howls echoed across Monster Island, shaking the palm trees and frightening the birds that lived in them. "Here comes Godzilla," Anguirus cried. "Run!" Varan bellowed as he spread his arms and legs and took off into the sky. Manda hissed a warning, then ducked beneath the waves. Baragon dug a hole and jumped inside. Gigan and Megalon stopped wrestling and ran into the jungle to hide. By the time Godzilla got to the beach, the other monsters were gone. "All I wanted to do was play with them," Godzilla cried angrily. He stomped his foot and roared. "If I can't make friends on Monster Island, then I'll go somewhere else." Godzilla jumped into the ocean and disappeared beneath the waves. When the other monsters returned to the beach, they wondered where Godzilla was going. Some of them felt bad because he was leaving, but a few were happy, especially Gigan and Megalon. Now they were the toughest monsters on Monster Island.
For a long time, Godzilla swam through the ocean. Finally, in the distance, he saw a great ship. "Will you be my friend?" Godzilla called to the ship, filling the air with his mighty roar. On the deck of the ship, the passengers and crew heard Godzilla's roar. They cried out in panic and ran for the lifeboats. "Godzilla is coming!" they shouted. Godzilla saw that the people on the boat were afraid of him too, just like the monsters on Monster Island. With a sigh, Godzilla swam sadly away. Godzilla swam and swam through the ocean waves. Finally, he came to a great city filled with tall skyscrapers and lots of people. Maybe he would find a friend here. But when Godzilla climbed onto the shore, sirens began to blare. Tanks and airplanes came to chase him away. He howled in surprise as cannons were fired at him. The weapons could not hurt the mighty Godzilla, but he knew he was not wanted. So he turned and headed back to the ocean. Can you imagine this whole time in every Godzilla movie, he was just going to Tokyo looking for friends? That's kind of depressing, actually. I feel like I can relate to Godzilla. Godzilla swam underwater for many days, searching for a place where he could find a friend. He saw whales and sharks and octopuses and even a giant squid. But like the monsters on Monster Island, the creatures of the ocean depths were afraid of him. Finally, Godzilla arrived in a land with many different animals. Big ones and small ones, elephants, giraffes, and zebras. "I'm sure to find a friend here," Godzilla growled excitedly. But when he came ashore, all the animals ran away in a dusty stampede. Once again, Godzilla was alone. He blinked. Was it the dust that made his eyes fill with tears? You guys, Godzilla is crying in this book. He is downright sobbing. And I get it. I get it. As he turned to go, Godzilla realized he would never find a friend. With a heavy heart, he returned to Monster Island. Meanwhile, back on Monster Island, Megalon and Gigan had taken over Godzilla's old ledge on top of the volcano, and the two monsters began to bully the others. Gigan frightened Varan into the sky. Megalon chased Manda to the far side of the island. Rodan flew away, and Baragon was so afraid that he burrowed underground and would not come out of his hole. Anguirus was the only monster who didn't run away. "It's not right," he screeched angrily. "Things were better when Godzilla was here. At least Gigan and Megalon behaved." Bravely, Anguirus climbed up the volcano to confront the bullies. But when he got to the top, Gigan and Megalon pushed poor Anguirus into the volcano's crater. The pit was so deep that he could not get out. Anguirus was trapped. Suddenly, a mighty roar made Gigan and Megalon jump in surprise. "Godzilla is back!" Gigan yelped in fear as the king of the monsters charged up the hill. The two bullies ran down the other side of the volcano and hid in the jungle. "Help!" Anguirus cried to Godzilla. "I'm trapped." All the other monsters heard Anguirus calling. With dread, they wondered what Godzilla was going to do to poor Anguirus. To everyone's surprise, Godzilla stood quietly for a moment. Then he threw his long tail over the edge of the crater for Anguirus to grab. His muscles bulged as he dragged Anguirus out of the crater and set him down on the ledge. Anguirus had never before been this close to the mighty king of the monsters. He'd always run away with the others when Godzilla came near, but Anguirus decided that Godzilla wasn't so scary after all. "Are you alright?" Godzilla growled. "Yes," Anguirus replied. "Now that I have a big strong friend like you to help me out of trouble." From then on, the other monsters played with Godzilla. Anguirus even asked Godzilla to wrestle. When Gigan and Megalon crept out of the jungle, they gasped. "Anguirus, aren't you afraid?" "Nah," he replied. "Who's afraid of Godzilla?" So in the official canon, I'd say this story takes place after Ghidorah the three-headed monster, but before Invasion of the Astro Monster. I'm kidding. Obviously, this is a sequel to Shin Godzilla. These books are getting pricier by the year, so if you have any desire to buy them online, I'd do it now. I've seen this one go for between $60 to $140, believe it or not. I got it fairly cheap, but as you can see, the trade-off is this pretty poor condition. It's also really easy to find full scans online as of now, just by Googling the book name. If you want to check out these stories, I recommend you go that route and save your pennies for something else. Unless you're an avid collector of Bob Eccleston art, that is. But who needs his art when you can draw Godzilla yourself? Dun dun dun! Tune in next time! This book was soon followed up with Who Pooped in Rodan's Cereal. Seriously, look at him. What's wrong with him here? Playtime! Yay! Greetings and welcome to Playtime, where we celebrate imagination, play together, and maybe even learn something we didn't know. In the last episode, we talked about two 1998 Godzilla-themed children's books released by Random House, and we read one of them together, Who's Afraid of Godzilla? But what about the other book? Like Who's Afraid of Godzilla, Godzilla Likes to Roar is also illustrated by the artistic god known to you mortals as Bob Eggleton. However, this one has a different author, Kerry Milleron, who also wrote Thomas Tells a Lie and Watch Out, Jar Jar. Hey, that one's also illustrated by Eggleton. What the? Also, unlike the other book, this one rhymes. Gather around, kiddies, it's story time again. Godzilla likes to roar, to shake the sky and wake the sun. Godzilla likes to roar, then greet his friends and have some fun. This looks like Anguirus is just chilling out, and then Godzilla sneaks up at him like, "Hey Anguirus, why do you crawl on your knees?" Anguirus is like, "Ah!" And Rodan's in the back like, "Hope, hope, on my cereal." Godzilla likes to roar. He likes to kick and splash about. Anguirus wades to shore and nudges Rodan with his snout. What? Why? Are they Eskimo kissing? Man is just chilling in the background. Godzilla loves to roar. He makes the hills and valleys rumble. When he roars a little more, mountains quake and boulders crumble. Godzilla is the monster king. His roaring is a mighty thing. It booms across the ocean, past ships both large and small, and even cities stop to hear Godzilla's mighty call. Ah, that's annoying. The entire rhyme scheme of the poem just changed. Ah! Help! I got my foot stuck in the mountain! Stop pointing and laughing and help me! Back on Monster Island, he wrestles with his monster bunch. Godzilla's belly roars. It's time to eat. Now what's for lunch? And then Anguirus is like, I hear the baby kicking. Get off my tummy, you weirdo. Cocoa nuts are tasty treats, and all the trees are in their reach. They'll have a monster picnic and share food down at the beach. Stop changing the rhyme scheme! Also, I guess these monsters are vegetarians, and they probably never shut up about it. It's fun to join a monster crew. There's always something new to do. To go exploring in a cave, or see what's washed up by a wave. What's Godzilla got there? Kinda looks like a ship, but it's flat. Is that a side of a ship? A monster's life is never boring, and all the while, Godzilla's roaring. But even monsters need their rest. Each picks the bed that he likes best. Godzilla yawns, he's tired too. He knows that he must sleep. Give one last roar, Godzilla, before you rest in the blue deep. Bye, guys. Bye. Good night, Godzilla, king of the monsters. Pleasant dreams. Well, that last page didn't rhyme at all. This book is a lot less dense than the other one in terms of text. It could make for a nice bedtime book for the kiddies. Also, I just noticed that Mothra's seal is on the back, but I didn't see her anywhere in the book. I wish Eggleton would do the art for my version, because I know I could do a better job writing this book. Watch, I'm just gonna freestyle off the top of my head. Godzilla likes to roar, but he got an irritation in his throat. So he went to the nearest store to buy himself an antidote. Godzilla likes to roar, but not today, he's feeling sick. Godzilla's throat is sore, so he'll stay home to catch a flick. It's so quiet here. I can finally read my favorite book. And I could drink this beer. And I can finally learn to cook. Who the heck are you? I'm Manda. I was in Final Wars. What are you making? It's beef stew. Enjoy some while there are no roars. The monsters were all in a better mood, because finally there was peace. They sat and ate Manda's food. My stress is starting to decrease. I hope this quiet lasts long. Enjoying it has sure been swell. But poor Anguirus is wrong, cause now Godzilla's feeling well. I'm not sick anymore, he shouted to the monster pack. Godzilla likes to roar and give his friends a heart attack. Oh, my heart! Oh, gah! Godzilla likes to roar. There's not even quiet when he's asleep, cause he also likes to snore, while his poor friends sit around and weep. See, and I didn't even change the rhyme scheme. Playtime! Yay!
Hi, I'm Polly Pocket. Let's have fun in my playhouse together.
In the early 1990s, Mattel's Polly Pocket took the world by storm. It's a great concept. You get the doll and the dollhouse in pocket-sized compact cases. It became so huge that, of course, they made a version for little boys.
Mighty Max, Mighty Max.
It's Mighty Max.
Welcome to Skull Dungeon.
Now, in the 90s, a company called Trendmasters had the license to release Godzilla toys in North America, and they were not immune to the tiny toy craze at the time. Which brings us to these, the Godzilla Micro Battle playsets. Right here is the entire first wave in all its glory. Each set featured Godzilla's head that would open to reveal a different battle in a different location. Every set came with a collectible bonus trading card of a Toho monster. And of course, we have the seal, so you know this is an officially licensed Godzilla product. None of that bootleg nonsense. You could see that unlike Polly Pocket or Mighty Max, this case opens all the way to create two flat surfaces. One side will usually be landmarks from that city, and then the other side would be a unique environment you might see in a Godzilla film. Don't just stop at LA, Godzilla didn't. Now that's good marketing copy. So that was the LA set, and here's the San Francisco set, where Godzilla fights King Ghidorah. I guess he spent some extra time in California. You got Alcatraz, the Golden Gate Bridge. But wait, there's an extra building in this set. Weird. We'll see what that is later. Then Godzilla hops a plane to New York City to take on Rodan. Now we're talking. You get to destroy the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, and... Oh, this is awkward. Moving on. These are a little bit of a pain to find still in their packages at a decent price. A complete set usually commands a high price on sites like eBay. We're talking anywhere from $50 to over $100. Because they're becoming nice collector items. But whatever, let's open them up and play with them. Now this is annoying. The collector's card is taped into the packaging. This tape is really stuck on. Did it have to be taped on? On both ends? The card has King Ghidorah's accurate origin from the film Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. But think about that for a moment. That movie didn't officially come out in North America until a little bit later. So imagine how insane the plot on this card sounds out of context. Time travel? Dorats? What? The head sculpt is nice. It won't fit in your pocket quite like the other micro toys, but I'm impressed with the amount of detail, and even the paint job is decent. Alas, poor Godzilla. I knew him, Horatio. You can see that, of course, there are a lot of tiny pieces. That's why it's hard to find these on eBay opened and complete without missing parts. So it turns out my San Francisco set came with an extra Empire State Building from the New York set. Wow, maybe I shouldn't have opened it. The little figures look good. They're simple enough, but that's fine. Good sculpts, simple paint jobs. And the Empire State Building is now in San Francisco. Yeah, it's my playtime. I do whatever I want. A rocket launcher 3 times bigger than Godzilla. I feel like this would destroy the whole planet. To launch a missile, you tap it on the back. And you have to hit it with just the right amount of force. Too little and it won't go anywhere. Too much and it's lost forever. Godzilla's checking out Alcatraz, but uh-oh! The whole prison turns and parts the sea like Moses, opening a trapdoor like a James Bond villain. Meanwhile, King Ghidorah attacks the bridge because he hates the opening to Full House. You can even see Godzilla's underwater lair by taking a look under the sea. No singing crabs, though. Oh, now here's the hard part, putting the pieces away for storage. I guess you could try to shove most of them into the hidden compartments, but look! His mouth won't close. There are a lot of big pieces in this particular set. Oh man, I just puked a small me! Moving on to the LA set with Hollywood. It's all good. Yeah, so as you can see, it's the same head. Once again, the card is taped into the packaging, and now we have Mechagodzilla. His card's a bit different. Instead of a full bio, we have a list of stats. Wikizilla, are you watching this? How accurate are these stats? And when are you gonna let me guest voice an episode? So you get another Godzilla, and it's the same Godzilla. I guess it's fine, but we're starting to see the areas where Trendmasters cut some corners with production costs. I didn't mention this before, but it's a little bit of a pain to get the landmarks to stay in place. They're not very secure, and that's on purpose so Godzilla can easily knock them down. But the buildings tend to fall over if you shake the set even a little bit. Alright, the LA set is ready for play. Yeah, take that, Godzilla. Beep boop beep. I like the Mechagodzilla figure here. We've got a little cave space here, not so much a trapdoor as it is just storage. Roar! Take that, LA, with your laid-back attitudes and legalized pot. Take that, Hollywood Bowl, with your Bjork concerts. Over here we have a hangar that Mechagodzilla can go into, but I'm not sure how. Is there a button or a switch? Oh, it turns out you have to really push him down. Then to push it back up, you use that hole underneath. This head is a little easier with storage, thank God. Now I puked a whole city! I should mention that these plates can pop off to provide a little bit more storage space. They just won't snap back on very securely when they're full. And that does not help with the San Francisco set very much. I mean, look at this. I'm afraid to open it. Everything's gonna spill out. Time for one last battle in New York City. Rodan looks deranged in this art. And of course we have our tape. His card bio is more general, not very specific to any particular movie. And look at this, I have cards 6, 7, and 8. I guess 1 through 5 came with other toys. This is annoying. My New York plate is kind of warped and it won't snap into the head very securely. I don't know if they're all like this, but this sucks. After we snap the cave on, we have the zipline rope available, but I'm not sure where the other end goes. I guess you just hold it. The box isn't offering any hints. Here's Rodan, and he has the hole on his back for the string, which I don't love, to be honest. It kind of ruins the figure. I'd rather not have the hole or the zipline and just have a better miniature Rodan. But yeah, this whole zipline feature is not great, and when it's not in use, you just have a string hanging there. We have another ocean layer for Godzilla to hang out in, but check this out, there's a plate here that— I hate how wobbly this is! Also, this is still really awkward. Anyway, you turn the Empire State Building and it helps Godzilla smash stuff. It's kinda like his accomplice. And hey, technically the Empire State Building is a kaiju, if you saw Ghostbusters 2. Let's see how storage fares with this set. Alright, it's not bad, all things considered. So yeah, as you can see, once closed, you can't really tell the sets apart from each other. It would have been really nice to have heads of other monsters, or at least more variations of Godzilla's head. Follow the middle head, follow the middle head, keep your eyes on the middle head. Middle head for your eyes and you win the prize. And there actually was a second micro-series where they did change some of the heads. If you want a more in-depth look at the next wave, including some cool pictures, I really suggest you check out the Sphinx blog. Aside from this, he's posting cool Godzilla vintage stuff all the time. I want to highlight his picture of the Violante set where you fight in Washington, D.C. Then you have this larger Mecha King Ghidorah G-Force playset. And another Mecha Godzilla set, but this time it's in a high-tech base. And then you have this very rare set of Space Godzilla in Tokyo. For me anyway, all the Wave 2 sets have been hard to find. I don't ever see them pop up on eBay. If you have any of these, you're very lucky. So are these sets worth getting? I think they are, but not for the prices that you'll see online. I think they're pretty okay, not something I'd recommend you break your bank for unless you're just an avid collector. This is MIB. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Playtime, where we celebrate imagination, play together, and maybe learn something we didn't know. Let me know what you think of the Godzilla Micro Battle series in the comments, and share your memories if you had these. Please don't forget to support the channel by sharing, and subscribing. Click the notification bell, and follow me on Twitter at MonsterIslandB. Playtime! Yay! Greetings and welcome to Playtime, where we celebrate imagination, play together, and maybe even learn something we didn't know. Last week, I sent every single one of my subscribers a free pair of these special 3D glasses in the mail. And that's because today, we're looking at the book Godzilla Saves America, a monster showdown in 3D. So go ahead and put on those 3D glasses now. Whoa, this is crazy, right? It's like I'm jumping out of your computer or phone or tablet or whatever. I must admit something. I'm that guy who totally loves the 3D gimmick, when it's done right. I buy my Blu-rays in 3D. I love virtual reality games. I just love messing with my senses. Here's an old 3D comic from my childhood, and I must have read it 100 times. Yeah, that's right. The California Raisins had a 3D comic, and little MIB loved it. I make no apologies for who I am. Some Godzilla media has dabbled in 3D here and there. The 2014 Legendary film was released with a 3D option, which I actually prefer over the 2D option, mostly because with the 3D I find it easier to make things out with the film's dark color palette. There were almost 3D Godzilla movies much earlier, such as a scripted 1983 film Godzilla King of the Monsters 3D, and the unmade 2008 film Godzilla 3D to the Max. I wish they happened. I think Godzilla lends very well to 3D since he's such a tremendous spectacle. Well, in 1996, we got this hardcover picture book, Godzilla Saves America, a monster showdown in 3D. It even came with these special 3D Godzilla glasses. I guess the design pattern is supposed to be Godzilla's skin, but something about this color is making me think of a swimming pool instead. You might have noticed that the glasses aren't the classic red and blue design. That's because the book used something called chroma depth 3D technology. Rather than overlapping two different images like traditional 3D, this uses special color templates that react to the micro-optics in the glasses. Here's why that's special. This is how that California Raisins 3D comic book looks without the 3D glasses. It's unreadable. Now here's how an image looks using chroma depth without wearing the glasses. Yeah, it looks completely normal. This book is still enjoyable in 2D without wearing the glasses. When you do use the glasses, the image and vibrant colors really pop. I wish I could show you guys, but unfortunately the effect is lost over video. Take my word for it, it looks really good. The only downside is a very slight echo effect with the images. But the fact that this book works in both 2D and 3D, that's impressive. Also, I guess this joke doesn't work anymore. You guys can go ahead and toss out those 3D glasses I sent you. Godzilla Saves America was written by Mark Saraceni, with illustrations by Tom Morgan and Paul Mounts, an award-winning comic book colorist. You guys want to read the book together? Yeah, you know you do. Danger is coming. From the far reaches of the universe, Ghidorah has spread his golden wings. Faster than the speed of light, the three-headed monster flies through the vast midnight darkness of outer space. Ghidorah has been sent by evil aliens from the Hunter D Nebula for only one purpose: to destroy all life on planet Earth. Weird, in the classic films he was sent by aliens from M-Space Hunter Nebula. Why are these Alphabet Nebula aliens such jerks? In a ball of golden fire, Ghidorah splashes into the Mediterranean Sea. The monster wades towards the beaches of France, sinking small fishing boats and huge cruise ships. He reaches land and cuts a path of destruction across the countryside. Modern weapons are useless against this creature. Tank blasts and artillery shells bounce off Ghidorah's golden scales. Soon, Paris itself is in ruins. The world is stunned as Ghidorah destroys all of Europe. Holy shit, that escalated. It was just Paris a second ago. At United Nations headquarters in New York City, diplomats and scientists argue over ways to stop the creature's rampage. How can the people of Earth fight this powerful space monster? The Japanese ambassador rises and speaks. Ghidorah attacked Japan many years ago, he tells the assembly. The monster caused great destruction. Our weapons could do nothing to stop it. Only one force on Earth was able to defeat Ghidorah. Who raises their hand like this? It looks like he's palming an invisible basketball. Meanwhile, on a remote island in the Pacific Ocean, Mothra takes to the sky. As she circles above the clouds, Mothra sends out a special call. Below her, the ocean starts to churn and bubble. A jagged bolt of lightning flashes beneath the waves. Something is emerging from the ocean's depths. Godzilla! With a mighty roar, the radioactive mutant dinosaur answers Mothra's telepathic plea. Both creatures head toward the faraway coast of the United States. When Godzilla enters San Francisco Bay, people flee in fear. The giant dinosaur passes under the Golden Gate Bridge and lumbers through the center of the city. Mothra chirps loudly, urging Godzilla to keep moving. Godzilla marches across the dry Nevada desert. He wades through the Great Salt Lake of Utah, then climbs the snowy peaks of the Rocky Mountains. High above, Mothra leads the way. At Mount Rushmore, Godzilla's thunderous footsteps awaken the monster Rodan in her nest high atop the monument. Enraged, Rodan flaps her mighty wings and screeches a warning to Godzilla.
Stay away from my nest!
I guess that voice doesn't work when the Rodan is a female. Oh, hey, so you might have noticed that the monsters in this book look similar to their Trendmasters toy designs, even though Trendmasters had absolutely nothing to do with this book. In Washington, D.C., the president calls an emergency meeting of his advisors. From the Pentagon Battle Center, they watch Godzilla tramping across America.
We don't know why Godzilla is here, but the creature is actually doing little damage,
a general tells the president.
It's Ghidorah that's the real threat, and now he's crossing the Atlantic Ocean and headed for America.
What shall we do? Asks the president. Send in the Navy, declares an admiral.
Our ships will stop Ghidorah. Wow, he actually looks like Bill Clinton. Also, how long would it take Godzilla to walk across America from the west to the east? Let's do math! Just for contrast, it would take 4 to 5 months for a person to walk across America in a straight line with no obstacles. According to a Trendmaster's trading card, Godzilla can move at 40 miles per hour. There are approximately 3,000 miles across America coast to coast. That means it would take Godzilla 75 hours non-stop. Divided by 24-hour days, and Godzilla could make this journey in just over 3 days. And that's if he took a straight path, which we know for fact he doesn't. So we could be looking at something like 4 to 5 days or more. By contrast, King Ghidorah flies from Paris to New York, which is 3,625 miles. They both make it to New York at roughly the same time, but how could it take Ghidorah 4 to 5 days to fly over 3.5 thousand miles when a commercial airplane can make the same trip in 8.5 hours? The math doesn't work! U.S. Navy warships race to the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Ghidorah flies into their line of fire. A terrible battle erupts. The destroyers launch Tomahawk cruise missiles, but they cannot penetrate Ghidorah's tough golden scales. F-14 Tomcat jet fighters take off from an aircraft carrier, but even their air-to-air missiles are no match for this monster from space. Ghidorah's thrashing wings smash the fleet of ships. His deadly electric bolts fry the jet fighters. Meanwhile, Godzilla pushes onward. Cities are evacuated as he draws near. His echoing roar can be heard miles away. At Niagara Falls, the giant dinosaur pauses to refresh himself. People watch, amazed at his immense size. The rumbling tons of water are like a gentle shower to the mighty Godzilla. This couple right here looks a lot like Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson, right? He's even taken a picture. I wonder if that's on purpose. This dude here looks like Howard Stern. By now, Ghidorah has arrived on America's shores. The space monster's massive wings demolish factories and buildings. Ships in New York City's harbor are tossed around like toys in a bathtub. Thousands watch as Ghidorah nearly topples the Statue of Liberty. Tanks line the shore to defend the island of Manhattan. But something else is waiting for Ghidorah. You guys remember in my review for the Micro Battle playset when I accidentally called the Statue of Liberty the Empire State Building? Because a buttload of you were sure to point it out in the comments. It's Godzilla! The giant dinosaur bellows his challenge to the space monster. Ghidorah showers Godzilla with terrible bolts of energy. Godzilla blasts back with his deadly radioactive breath. His dorsal spikes crackle and glow with blue fire. The monsters grapple in the concrete canyons of Manhattan. Glass shatters, steel melts, skyscrapers fall. Then Ghidorah traps Godzilla and chokes him with his 3 long necks. Godzilla is helpless. And we got Black Widow and Reed Richards. Is this an unofficial Marvel crossover? But now Mothra is on the attack. She fires her ultrasonic wave beam at the space monster. Stunned, Ghidorah releases Godzilla. Free of the creature's choking grip, an angry Godzilla turns to fight. Using his long tail, Godzilla batters Ghidorah as Mothra's giant wings push a skyscraper down on the space monster. Did Mothra just knock one of the twin towers on Ghidorah? Alright, it doesn't specify which skyscraper she knocks down, but it kinda looks like the twin towers design from the previous pages. Mothra did 9/11 confirmed. Ghidorah knows he is outmatched and defeated. The 3-headed monster spreads his wings and takes to the air. The people of Earth cheer as Ghidorah flees back into space. Godzilla and Mothra have saved America. Hey, what? Godzilla and Mothra? Talk about a false title. Mothra's lawyer should call Random House. The battle is won, and Mothra heads back to her island home somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Godzilla wades into New York Harbor and returns to the sea. As America begins to repair the massive damage, the nation wonders, will Godzilla and Mothra ever return? I actually think this book is really good. It's written very well, it's very descriptive, good 90s style comic book art, and again, the 3D technology is really impressive. As of this video, this book isn't too rare or expensive. It's on Amazon for about $20, and I've seen it even cheaper on eBay. So thanks for playing with me today, and if you haven't heard, our channel is now on Patreon. If you want to help support the channel financially so all of us can continue to enjoy it, please consider becoming a patron. And I want to give a special thanks to my first round of patrons ever! These guys got in on the ground floor, so I'm gonna bump their rewards up 1 tier for free. Special shout out to these great patrons, including Joey Crouch and Irving E. Jimenez Belito. Thank you so much for the support, and I hope I pronounced your names right. You can also support the channel in a big way by simply subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Let's chat in the comments. What do you think of Godzilla Saves America? Did you own this book at one point? Let's keep the conversation going.
Playtime! Yay! Way back in 1984, Toho launched a line of merchandise in Japan under the name Gojirando, or Godzillaland. It was targeted to kids, so it featured short, chubby, adorable versions of the Toho monsters. Or, as they would say in Japan, Chibi versions. One day I'm gonna make a long video about Godzillaland and convince you all that it's the coolest thing ever! But that's not what we're talking about today. Meh. It's been an extraordinarily long time since Toho last used the Godzillaland brand, and it doesn't look like they'll be resurrecting it anytime soon. Instead, in late 2018, Toho started from scratch, releasing a new, kid-friendly Godzilla with an all-new design. And here he is! This guy's simply named Chibi Godzilla, and this little guy launched in October 2018 with a hardcover children's book called Do Your Best Chibi Godzilla. It was written and illustrated by Shihiro Sakazaki, and the book also features appearances by Chibi Rodan and Chibi King Ghidorah. You might have noticed that Chibi Godzilla's design is much different than the Gojirando Godzilla. This design takes a lot of getting used to. For me, it's the big ears that make him look very un-Godzilla-like. In my opinion, simply removing the ears is already a big improvement. Also, the nose and mouth make me think of the Pringles mascot, and I cannot get that out of my head. From the side, his shape kinda looks bird-like. Between that shape and the bumps on his head, it reminded me of when Bart Simpson was the Raven in the first Simpsons Treehouse of Horror special. But, for young children, the design is simple enough to draw, color, and just have some fun with. And we should remember that Chibi Godzilla is aimed at very young children. Toho went all in with the Chibi Godzilla launch. It had a huge presence at the 2018 Godzilla Fest, complete with a uniformed mascot, a kids' corner where kids could color Chibi Godzilla pictures, and even little Chibi Godzilla hats the children could wear. Will Chibi Godzilla make his way into the hearts of the Japanese children? Will he ever make his way here to the United States? Well, it's still too early to tell. As of this video, the launch is still happening. But I thought we'd take a look at the very first Chibi Godzilla book together. If you live in the United States, you can still order this from Amazon Japan, and they will deliver it here to America. But, of course, the book itself is not in English. But that's okay, because thanks to a complete translation provided by YouTuber and Kaiju customizer Yaoyao9, we can read through Do Your Best Chibi Godzilla right here and right now. After we're done, feel free to leave your thoughts and comments on Chibi Godzilla below. Is there room in your G-fan heart for this little guy? Or is this the freakiest Godzilla design since Shin Godzilla? Discuss below. In the meantime, uninterrupted, here's Do Your Best Chibi Godzilla.
Breathe fire! Go! But, you know, if I fall... when I bump into something... when I read a sad story... in a foot race, I came in last. I'm a crybaby little Godzilla. But, you know, if I cry to my heart's content... Everyone is delighted. I am the strong and healthy Chibi Godzilla!
This video was sponsored in part by these patrons, including Irving Jimenez Begito,
Find Monster Island Buddies on Patreon if you'd like to support the channel as well.
Playtime! Yay!
Greetings and welcome to Playtime, where we celebrate imagination, play together, and maybe even learn something we didn't know. You're probably familiar with the Viewmaster. The history of this device goes all the way back to 1939, arguably even earlier. But its popularity lasted for decades and is still around today. You buy Viewmaster reels that look very much like this. As you can see, it holds 14 actual film transparencies. You slip the reel in the top and look into the viewer, hold the Viewmaster up near some light so you can see, and the film cell image will appear in gorgeous 3D. Right in this spot here, you can read a little description that accompanies the image you're looking at. Pull the lever here, and the reel will turn to the next image. Yeah, I know, pretty unimpressive by today's standards, yeah? I mean, come on, buddy. I own Thor Ragnarok in 3D, and I can watch it in the dark. Yet the Viewmaster isn't going anywhere. They continue to adapt to the times with things like VR headsets, and as of right now, there's a Viewmaster movie in the works. A movie! One of the ways the Viewmaster adapted in the 1970s was by releasing what's called a talking Viewmaster. This went through several designs over the years, but I have this early model here. This machine still has the circular reels, but on the back, there's a little audio record. The reel goes into the talking Viewmaster and everything works the same, except to hear the record play, you press and hold this giant soundbar button on the back.
Some people have dogs who chase cars. Some people have dogs who bite mailmen.
Yeah, so that sounds like a nightmare. I'd play more, but I'm afraid I'll accidentally summon Lucifer. Anyway, let's get to today's topic, an original Godzilla story spread across 3 reels called Godzilla's Rampage. It came out as both standard reels and as talking reels. The story dropped in 1978, the same time Marvel was doing their run of Godzilla King of the Monsters. In fact, yeah, a lot, if not all of this Godzilla art was jacked right from the Marvel comics, with minor environmental changes. I mean, this is pretty blatant. I guess it bothers me because nowhere on the packaging or inserts is credit provided to the original artist, Herb Trimpe. What about the story itself? Well, there are 3 ways you can experience it. Either with the reels and just reading the story blurbs, by using the soundbar, or by reading the story booklet packed in with the reels. Well, the blurbs are very short, and I don't think you want me to actually play you these reels.
Next morning, an exciting discovery. Look at that! Golly, Penny, a gigantic footprint.
So today I'll read the booklet. For images, I'm going to use this old projector to shine the reel onto my screen here, and then take photos of the images. I have to be fast, because the bulb in this old projector literally smells like it's gonna burn my entire house like a wax candle. We're gonna lose the 3D effect, but at least we'll preserve the story. So let's dive into Godzilla's Rampage. Most days, the Pacific Ocean lies as peaceful as its name. Ships pass serenely from the west coast of the United States to the Pacific's major island chains, Hawaii, Japan. Who could have predicted it? 1 minute, passengers aboard a U.S. cruise vessel were gazing at the horizon and discussing Honolulu's vacation fun. The next minute, they were scrambling for their lives. Strange, blood-curdling roars punctured the Pacific's calm. The ship, flaming suddenly like a torch, was going down. Only a few lucky souls managed to grab onto life rafts. "What the? Did you see it?" cried one survivor as he pulled himself aboard a raft. "Yeah, but I don't believe it," yelled another. Quiet again, the ocean current swept the pontoons north toward a small island. Natives spotted the rafts and rushed to pull them ashore. Exhausted and mumbling something about a monster spitting fire, the tattered crew collapsed on the sand. "Here, take this. It should ward off any infection." Dr. Wesley Morris quickly checked pulses and gave orders as the survivors sprawled on the beach. "Hey, what's a doc doing out here in the middle of nowhere?" asked one of the men. "Let's say I'm doing research," said Morris. "And you can help by telling me just what happened."
"Yes, what about this monster?"
chimed in Penny Morris. She and her brother Nat had accompanied their dad to the beach.
"He came out of the water, green and scaly like a lizard,"
said a woman.
"but huge, say 400 feet tall.
Others confirmed her story. Dr. Morris and the kids headed for their compound. Halfway across the island, a tropical storm burst over them. Struggling against typhoon-like winds, the three took refuge in a cave. Next morning, they started out again. But what was this? An enormous three-toed footprint. Looking up, Dr. Morris and the kids saw a huge, scaly, green head staring at them over the ridge. Smoke poured from its mouth. "No doubt now," exclaimed Morris. "It's Godzilla." Abruptly, the monster turned and stomped out to sea. Dr. Morris grabbed his binoculars. The scientists had been tracking Godzilla since the day a nuclear blast woke the prehistoric creature from eons of suspended animation beneath the ocean's floor. Next day, a rescue plane arrived to take the survivors back to Hawaii. Radios were buzzing the news.
"A sea monster has been seen off the west coast."
Sure enough, at dusk that day, Godzilla rose out of the sea in Puget Sound, Washington. Back at the Morris compound, Penny and Nat watched as the doc put final touches on his invention, the oxygen bomb. "This," Morris told them, "is the only weapon that can stop Godzilla." But would it be too late to save Seattle? Lumbering out of Elliott Bay, Godzilla capsized 2 ships en route to the city center. A railroad bridge got in the way, so the mammoth beast crushed it with his tail. Bellowing, he grabbed a boxcar and threw it into the bay. Workers near the dock fled in terror. Who could stop this invading juggernaut now? Seeing Seattle's famous Space Needle, Godzilla lunged for it like a child grasping a new toy. The National Guard beamed searchlights at the huge reptile, seeking a target for their heavy weapons. Next morning at Seattle-Tacoma Airport, Dr. Morris, Penny, and Nat arrived. Seattle's only hope, the oxygen bomb, was locked inside the scientist's attaché case. The National Guard continued to mobilize against the monster. Planes and tanks aimed heavy artillery at him. Godzilla, unhurt, fought back. A flaming ray shot from his mouth and turned a tank to cinders, perhaps a result of the nuclear blast which long awakened him. Godzilla's dragging-like breath now carried the devastating fire of radiation.
"Cut the cute stuff and blast that hot-headed lizard!"
radioed the guard commander. Tanks and jeeps fired in formation, but Godzilla spat back.
"Keep going! Keep going!"
the commander shouted.
"He's out in Elliott Bay! Just try to scare him off! Whatever you do, don't!"
Berserk with pain, Godzilla grew more enraged with every blow. Bombs and bullets struck his scaly flesh and bounced off into the water. While the battle went on, Dr. Morris and the kids made their way to a secluded cove near the bay. Donning wetsuits, the three prepared to carry out their world-saving mission. "Remember, you two, the important thing is to get the cable tied around his leg securely," said the doctor. "Otherwise, he might fling it loose when he starts to struggle. I'll take care of the rest."
But what if the monster moves before we get it tied?
"That's a chance we have to take, Nat," exclaimed Dr. Morris. "The risks are high, but so are the stakes. You know, kids, I never wanted to use the oxygen bomb under any circumstances. Its potential for destruction is as great as the nuclear device that started this whole mess. But now we have no choice. Godzilla must be stopped. With any luck, no one will ever know how we did it."
Okay, Dad,
said Penny.
let's go.
The three plunged into Elliott Bay and moved silently downward. There, in the gloom, Godzilla's feet rested sturdily on the bottom. Grasping the moth's right leg, Penny pulled the cable to the other side, and the two swam toward each other, joining the cable where they met. Dr. Morris made the final attachments. Then, motioning the others to follow him to the surface, he activated the weapon. Suddenly, Godzilla's giant tail rose into the air and beat back against the water. The creature jerked and twisted violently, as if grasping for air. The oxygen bomb was working.
"Attention all units,"
called the guard's commander.
"It looks like our monster's finally hurting. He's floundering around out there and in the bay."
"Just hold your positions and keep your fingers crossed." Apparently beaten, the giant beast roared and bellowed until the earth itself shook. Safe on shore, Dr. Morris, Penny, and Nat watched as Godzilla flipped over and blundered out to sea. A primitive life form displaced in time, he still retained his own curious dignity.
"He's going away,"
squawked the guard commander's bullhorn.
"Good work, men. We finally did it."
What does he mean, we?
Muttered Nat. Penny bit her lip.
Gosh, Dad, seeing Godzilla struggle to breathe like that, after what we did, Well, it makes me feel kind of sad.
I know, the doctor nodded. But I'm sure you realize that thousands of lives were at stake. He could have destroyed Seattle, maybe even the world. He added thoughtfully, millions of years old, too tough to die. I have a feeling somehow that the world hasn't seen the last of Godzilla. And this little booklet also has some games here, like match the monster's name and face. Or how about this game? What country's symbol appears on Godzilla's back? And that's the story of Godzilla's Rampage, a completely original Godzilla story presented just for the Viewmaster and Talking Viewmaster. Although, completely original, really? Besides Marvel's art, we got an oxygen bomb? And why is this guy taking his kids scuba diving to Godzilla's leg? If the miniseries on HBO Chernobyl has taught me anything, both that scientist and his kids now have cancer. Thanks, Green American Godzilla. Playtime! Yay! Since the 1980s, there have been numerous representations of Godzilla that are clearly aimed for very small children. Hey, if you have an intellectual property that can cater to both adults and kids, why not take advantage of that? It does just have this weird undertone with Godzilla, though, seeing as he started as an allegory for nuclear devastation. It's almost like Big Nuclear paid off Toho in the 1960s to portray atomic energy in a positive light. Anyway, in late 2018, Toho launched the newest kid-targeted Godzilla line, Chibi Godzilla. Chibi, of course, is the term for these short, cute characters, and with Chibi Godzilla, Toho went for their youngest demographic yet. Chibi Godzilla is aimed at very young children. We're one talking baby son away from this being Teletubbies. In an earlier episode of this show, I went into detail about the Chibi Godzilla launch and presented a translation of the very first Chibi Godzilla children's book, Do Your Best Chibi Godzilla. Well, it's now 2019 and Chibi Godzilla is still going strong. The character's still making regular appearances at various events in Japan. And a few soft vinyl Chibi characters were released. Check these out. We have Chibi Godzilla and Chibi King Ghidorah, and a new character absent at the launch, Chibi Mothra. These characters have also made appearances on the big screen as theater etiquette PSAs run before films in Toho cinemas. I gotta tell ya, this guy's growing on me. Look, I know he looks like a broccoli teddy bear. I'm not going to defend him to you, but I enjoy seeing him out there. He does work a little better animated in my opinion. And last, you guys know I'm a sucker for the cute stuff. Yeah, part of my Godzilla collection is dedicated to kawaii stuff. In particular, I enjoy how they display. The vibrant colors and themes of friendliness are a nice contrast to the destruction and horror on the other side of Godzilla. I don't understand why Toho doesn't have Chibi Godzilla as an early morning cartoon show or a series of regular online shorts or anything like that. It's not like they'd have to spring on a background. These characters live in an endless void of blankness. I always felt like Toho was shortchanging itself with how far it takes their Kid Godzilla lines. But of course, who's to say what kind of numbers they see in these ad campaigns? With that said, gather around, kiddies, and I'll read you Good Friend Chibi Godzilla, the second and currently newest book in the Chibi Godzilla series. Once again, the book is both written and illustrated by Shiharu Sakazaki. It features a new round of art with Chibi Godzilla, Chibi Rodan, and Chibi King Ghidorah, plus we're introduced to Chibi Mothra and Chibi Anguirus. Chibi Burning Godzilla when? And there they all are, right on the cover of the book. There's Chibi Godzilla with his Alan Thicke haircut. We're going to present this uninterrupted, so please enjoy, leave a comment below, and check out my other stuff. And now, Kaiju Peace Theater proudly presents Good Friend Chibi Godzilla.
Good Friend Chibi Godzilla. The Lonely Chibi Godzilla. I know! Let's go look for friends! Oh! It's Chibi Mothra! Her wings are sparkling with light! Chibi Anguirus' back has prickly spikes that are super cool! Chibi Ghidorah is very good at singing songs! Chibi Rodan flies flies in the skies! How amazing!
What can you do, Chibi Godzilla?
I can breathe fire! Go!
Hot, hot, hot!
Wait! Guys, don't run away from me! The fruits from the tree fell down! Tasty! Let's eat these together, everyone! Let's eat! Everyone's bellies are totally full!
That was delicious! Thank you for the meal!
With everyone's friends, it's so much fun! Chibi Godzilla is not lonely anymore!
Playtime! Yay! Welcome to Playtime, where we celebrate imagination, play together, and maybe learn something we didn't know. I'm MIB, and this is Microman. It's not a toy of Microman, mind you. This is the actual Microman. Let's back up. Microman is a toy line created by Takara, and it was active from 1974 to 1984, and then again from 1998 to 2007. This line consists of 3 1/4-inch action figures with some decent articulation relative to their size. And real quick aside, if you're looking at this and saying, that's not a Microman, that's a Micronaut, then I should tell you that 1, Microman was licensed and distributed in the US by Mego under the name Micronauts from 1976 to 1980. And 2, you are old. Microman has an incredibly interesting place in toy history, and I'm not going to dive into it all today. Suffice to say that there's a really fascinating timeline of events showing how Microman comes from G.I. Joe and then led to the Transformers as we know them today. As a matter of fact, Megatron and some other notable Transformers originated from a Microman toy line called Microchange. It's why he turns into a handheld gun instead of a giant vehicle like Optimus Prime. Again, it's very interesting. In the narrative world of Microman, the characters are called Micros, and they hail from a planet called Micro-Earth. While on our planet, the Micros disguise themselves as our action figures. So again, this isn't a toy of a Micro, this is the Micro, scaled 1-to-1, living, breathing, and alive, undercover, pretending to be a toy, like a twisted version of Toy Story. As a matter of fact, oftentimes Micros will disguise themselves as other toys, like Batman, the Predator. Why, one of your toys might be a Micro, and you may not even know it. Micros. Micros. Micros all around me! Takara also held the license for Godzilla merchandise, so it's of little surprise that in 2004, they released sets where the Micros can disguise themselves as Godzilla toys. This was also the year of Godzilla's 50th anniversary, so it was a good opportunity to cover several different Goji suits. So if you've ever been poking around eBay and you've seen sets like these, that's what they are. But are they any good? Well, only one way to find out. First, we're going to look at this set here, and it looks like 4 action figures, but it's really only 2. You get the 2 Micros, and a costume for each of them to hide in, Megalon and Jet Jaguar. The Megalon and Jet costumes will not work as figures on their own, without the Micros inside of them. Packaging is nice, and on the back here we can see that there are 3 other Godzilla sets, which I will show you in just a moment. Again, these small figures are packed with articulation, 30 points to be exact, and they even come with swappable hands. Real quick, we also have a Micro who comes with an original 1954 Gojira, and I do like that they include the posters on the back of the cards, by the way. Here's another double set with 2 micros, and this time they're hiding inside a 1964 Godzilla and King Ghidorah. These look pretty decent. I like that instead of looking like Godzilla, this looks like the costume of Godzilla. Although it does feel less like the micros are disguising themselves as toys and more like they're just putting on the movie costumes. By the way, there's a Final Wars Godzilla, and we're going to circle back to him toward the end of this video. And last, I should also mention that Gamera got the Microman treatment as well. I'm not going to explore these guys on today's video, but rather I just wanted to show you that there's a Showa Gamera, Heisei Gamera, and a Todo from Gamera the Brave. So let's dig in, because I want to play with some aliens disguised as Godzilla toys. Alright, so we got some stands for the micros. Here are the alternate hands, which is interesting because these sets don't come with anything for the micros to hold. And what's this here? Ugh, I hate stickers. Little catalog here of these Kigoro Microman sets. And of course the instructions. Now remember, the goal here is to put the micro figure inside the Godzilla-related costumes. The micros themselves are neat, plenty of articulation as promised, and I'm a sucker for chrome and translucent toys. I only stuck the chest stickers on these guys because I despise putting tiny stickers on things. But yeah, on their own, the micros are very easy to pose, they're decent action figures. Psh, 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 I kick your face! But let's turn this guy into Jet Jaguar. Man, it's so weird seeing Jet's head and abdomen detached like this, right? So first I have to pop off the micro's head, his arms, his feet, put on Jet's crotch like a pair of shorts. And I would absolutely wear a pair of shorts that look like this, by the way. Got the top on, and the important thing is you really want to make sure that the ball joints are accessible. You stick on his 80s leg warmers here. Nothing here is just slipping on. This takes some force. You see, I can't put his feet back on because his leg warmers aren't high enough. You really have to press this down to make it work. Got his arms on. Then we stick his hands back in. And then last, the Jet Jaguar head pops on top, and there. A Jet Jaguar action figure. Well, sorta. The downside is unlike the Microman underneath him, Jet barely has any articulation at all. Moreover, to make this figure work, we had to remove Microman's feet, hands, and head. So how does that work in the narrative of these toys exactly? Microman wants to disguise himself as a toy, so he pops his own head off? What the hell does a head do while he's riding in Jet? It makes no sense. I could swap the head so it looks like this guy's wearing a bodysuit. I don't know. Let's do Megalon. Same as Jet, we pop off some parts, bottom goes on, followed by the top here. Wow, this one's actually a little harder. You really gotta twist and squeeze. Bloody hell. Megalon's arms are also a bit more challenging because of the shoulders here. The ball joint is a bit harder to reach. As a matter of fact, I had a bit of a hard time with this one. But eventually, Megalon was ready. The wings popped right on, and bam! Megalon figure. And now I have all these spare parts. But enough of these two. Megalon, Jet Jaguar, psh, one and done characters. Let's get to the big G. Godzilla's assembly is very different. Microman's head can stay on this time, so that's nice. But he goes into Godzilla in a bit of an awkward crouching position. Let's see. Again, I do love the rubber suit. It would almost be more fun to put a toy of Haruo Nakajima in here. Headbanging Goji. Dun, 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 dun. I like the color scheme of the micro that came in this set. That's pretty cool. We gotta stick him into this little purse opening in Godzilla's back. And it's quite a challenge to get the whole micro in there, let alone position him right. You want to make sure his ball joints come out of the 4 limbs. Wow. Oh, wow. This is a pain. Ah, man, his arm popped off. See, I got the whole micro in there, but without the ball joints, his head and feet just don't stick. This is the hardest one yet. Look inside there. My micro is falling apart inside Godzilla. So after turning off the camera and struggling for quite a while, I got the micro positioned right. As you can see, the payoff is a few little tears here by the dorsal plates. I wasn't being overly forceful or rough, but I did have to stretch the rubber to position the micro correctly. And the last thing we need to do is put the dorsal plates on. And then we're done. Godzilla can now join the others. It's too bad there's no Gigan. Honestly, I would rather just buy a toy that looks like this from the get-go. After all that hassle, I'm confident that I'm never going to remove the Microman from this Godzilla again. The worst part is I gotta do it all over, because here's another Godzilla. And I'm nervous to think about how complicated King Ghidorah is gonna be. We have his wings and some kind of wiring here. Then the usual Microman stickers and such. Again, I'm only sticking them on their chests. These guys are okay. Alright, break it up, you two. So again, the Micros get to keep their heads. Even better, looks like he gets to stand up straight, and I don't have to feed his arms through anything. Instead, we gotta put this antenna-looking contraption on his back first. Then you stick him into King Ghidorah's bottom half. We should end here, because how can this toy look any cooler? Last, we want to feed the antennae through the 3 necks, and that should probably close. Again, I'm using a lot of force here. You need to make sure that these little nubs clear the opening of the necks. With some more pushing and twisting, eventually the body was complete. Onto the tail, and oh my god! I gotta squeeze this huge nub here into this freaking pinhole. I spent a long time on this and got nowhere. With all my might and force, I could not get the tail to attach. Around here, it occurred to me to soften the skin with a hairdryer. This might have helped for the other toys too. This was incredibly helpful for the tail and wings, although they still weren't easy. I actually had to pop the top half of King Ghidorah's body off again, just so I can get a good grip to apply the force needed to put the wings on. Thankfully, the 3 Ghidorah heads are very simple. Again, great looking Showa King Ghidorah. And I like how he scales next to the Godzilla too. And again, I'd rather just have this as a toy without all the Microman stuff. Okay, no sense in avoiding it. We gotta do this other Godzilla, and my butt cheeks are already clenching with aggravation. Did the hairdryer help with Godzilla? Yes, in that the small opening in his back can be stretched easier. But even with the wider opening, positioning Microman without his parts popping off is still an incredible challenge. It took a lot of time off camera, but Godzilla is complete. That's the real downside if you wanted to actually play with these Microman toys. The transformations would totally break up your momentum. You'd be playing, then you'd have to stop for maybe 10 minutes or more, 5 if you have a hairdryer, and by the time you're done, you're kinda not in the mood to play anymore. But here's the lineup. Do they look neat? Yeah, they're pretty cool. Will I ever transform them again? No! Heavens no! As a matter of fact, I'm a little nervous to handle them now out of the fear that someone's limb will pop off beneath the suit. Now this will vary from collector to collector, but personally, I think these toys are better for display than for play. And that's why I chose to hang up the 3 Gameras along with the Final Wars Godzilla on my wall over here. And by the way, because these are Japanese imports and because we can't have nice things, you'll often see these toys on eBay dramatically overpriced. I'm talking $100, $200, I've seen $300 for one pack. It was actually cheaper for me to just import my toys directly from Japan. I got this Final Wars Godzilla Microman for $20 at G-Fest. My advice, as of the making of this video, is to avoid paying over $50 for one of these as much as possible. They are just not worth the high price tag. So that's the story of the Godzilla Microman crossover. I'll see you guys next playtime. Playtime! Yay! Here's a picture of me as a small child, trick-or-treating on Halloween as Mickey Mouse. Yeah, whoever took this picture decided I was only half relevant to it. Some of you younger folk might be asking, what's up with that Mickey Mouse costume? Why would Mickey Mouse have a weird design print on his chest with a picture of himself? Welcome to the world of Ben Cooper Inc., an American corporation that made Halloween costumes from the late 1930s all the way to the late 1980s. Today, when you think of a costume of a licensed intellectual property, you expect that the costume will look like the property. If you wear a Captain America costume, you will be dressed as Captain America.
That's what a costume is by definition. But it wasn't always like this. Ben Cooper Halloween costumes tended to involve a plastic mask held on by a string, and a strange vinyl smock that oftentimes featured art of the character themselves. There were exceptions. For example, this C-3PO costume actually looks like C-3PO. But all in all, this was pretty much the standard for Halloween costumes of popular characters all the way into the late 80s. I gotta tell you, these costumes are scary in their own way. Look at this cat costume. Look at this clown. Things got really weird when the masks were real human faces. Like the Fonz here. Or oh my god, I could wear Bo Duke's face. Today, Ben Cooper costumes are valuable collector items, especially if they're still in their boxes. Just look at some of these asking prices on eBay. Yikes. But today we're going to take a quick look at the Ben Cooper Godzilla costume. I have one here, and it's not in great shape because I really don't want to go broke buying this. I have seen different boxes for this costume. I have this one, which is under the Famous Faces name. I've seen other designs online. This one here has Godzilla art on the cover. What is he, attacking himself? While other boxes have him as Godzilla, King of the Monsters, mine doesn't say anything on the front, actually. Oh, here we go. The side says Godzilla. And as you can see, this is an officially licensed Godzilla product. There are some interesting notes on the back here. Look at how the first point they want to make is that it's flame retardant. Now, I do remember playground rumors of these suits being highly flammable. And you'll still see people say that today online. What an interesting thing to feature. Can you imagine you go to Party City to buy an Olaf costume for your kid, and the first thing the sales guy tells you is, this absolutely will not catch fire. Also, don't wash it, or you'll lose that protection. And it will catch fire. It's non-toxic. Again, I didn't know toxic Halloween costumes were a problem. Color bright. The most brilliant fabrics and decorations are used, consistent with character design. Are you sure about that? Next, they're bragging about the giant eye holes, and it's like, just don't. These were not comfortable, and you need to turn your entire head to see your peripherals. And let's talk about the mask fasteners permanently attached. Oh, you mean this half rubber band you stapled onto the plastic? Alright, let's see if this costume is, quote, consistent with character design. Nope. I'm not confident that most people looking at this mask would guess it's Godzilla. You can forgive the mask for having a very flat snout, but what's with these yellow horns on his head? Godzilla's got big red eyes, and then one upper row of sharp teeth. He's spitting out 4 little fireballs here, but kinda looks like he just shoved a handful of candy corn into his mouth. Let's put it this way, if I designed this monster and went public with it, I don't think Toho would sue me. But let's move on to the smock. There are a couple different versions of this smock out there. I have this one. There's an attempt here to replicate Godzilla's scales with these yellow accents. Then we have a picture of Godzilla himself, and he's still got those horns! His eyes are super red and really bulging out here, like somebody just shoved a hot pepper in his butt. He's just vomiting pure fire straight down to the legs, which are entirely red. So I guess when you wear this, your entire lower body is just fire. So much for flame retardant, am I right? The other version of the smock ditches the scales and just gives you the Godzilla art. I don't currently own it, but I should also mention there's a Ben Cooper King Kong costume. This one's art is based directly off of the 1976 remake poster, and in that regard, yeah, it's pretty accurate right down to his hot red lipstick. This one smock tries to replicate his body hair, and of course has Kong on it. Jeez. Why do I feel like every Playtime video I do somehow gets back to the Twin Towers? So, that's the Ben Cooper Godzilla Halloween costume. The price for this on eBay will vary based on condition and what have you, but I'd only recommend adding this to your collection if it has nostalgic value to you, or if the focus of your collection is this 1970s American-made memorabilia. In terms of masks, I'll stick to my more screen-accurate Godzilla mask, thank you very much. Actually, this mask isn't even officially licensed, and it's not even sold as a Godzilla mask, but instead labeled as Fire Dragon. For those of you wondering, I got this at a pop-up Spirit Halloween store where they were sold 2 for 99 cents. I don't have much else to say about this Ben Cooper Godzilla costume, except I'd like to see if these things really are highly flammable like they say. Yeah!
Valentine's Day is f***ing stupid. Let's start there. I'm still financially recovering from Christmas, you eager capitalist f***s. When you're a little kid, Valentine's Day is extra stupid, because you're probably not in a relationship. So instead, all you do is arts and crafts with red construction paper. Or you share those stale candy hearts with friends. But the most awkward tradition is in school, where the teacher makes you pass around Valentine's Day cards to your classmates. I'm not talking about those generic, completely overstated Hallmark cards. I'm talking about these stupid classroom Valentine's cards. Yeah, you've seen these. These often come in the form of small cards, usually on a tearaway sheet. A major common factor in these cards are their horrible, horrible puns. You have a pizza, my heart. You drive me nuts and bolts. No kitten, you're terrific. I like to imagine there's a writing room somewhere just filled with dads vomiting these bad puns. Oh, and many of these kits came with the extra big teacher card. Because making a vague gesture of romantic interest to your teacher isn't awkward at all. Every intellectual property that ever existed has had a box of these cards. Snoopy, G.I. Joe, Spider-Man, Tiny Toons, the California Raisins, Hannah Montana. And they're still going to this day. Frozen 2, Toy Story 4. These damn things have been a staple of Valentine's Day for decades, and they're not going anywhere. So when you think about it, in a way, it would kind of be weird if Godzilla didn't have his own box of these Valentine's cards. I mean, if Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad could have Valentine's Day cards, then surely the King of the Monsters deserves some too. And in 2002, American retailers offered Godzilla cards as part of the Godzilla Origins line. And real quick, from what I can gather, there's really no rhyme or reason as to what's in the Godzilla Origins line, nor is there usually a connection to his origin. It's just a name associated with General Godzilla merch in the early 2000s. Like there's this velvet poster for coloring, keychains, bobbleheads, mostly plushies released by Toy Vault. I like that they went with the Showa-era Godzilla here. And we've got Mechagodzilla, King Ghidorah. They even have a few UFOs floating around. I love it. And this woman here, she doesn't even want to think about Valentine's Day during this terrifying monster parade. Inside are 32 Valentine's Day cards on 4 sheets, meaning there are 8 unique cards. They're mostly the same shape, but we do have a few big ones in the mix. Doesn't say they're for the teacher, though, so I guess those underpaid clowns can go fuck off and date someone their own age. Have a monster day. I don't know, man. Doesn't look like having a monster day is considered a good day. These helpless people are watching Godzilla and Rodan fend off King Ghidorah. And here's that screaming woman again. See, she's having a monster day, and I don't think she's enjoying it at all. Maybe a better caption would be, I think you're King Ghidorable. Have a monstrously fun Valentine's Day is like the same thing over again, but this time on a smaller card. And it looks like they're on the moon this time, which is bad news if you're a random woman who enjoys oxygen. You're electric! Man, this woman can't catch a break. Where's Godzilla's foot? Is it in the water? While he's being electrocuted? Maybe this card should say, water and electricity don't mix, but maybe we can. I like you mecha much. Eh? Mechagodzilla looks so proud of that pun. Like he's about to follow it up with more. Hey, baby, you're a mech of a girl. Eh? And they really milked this one image, but that's fine. I like a Valentine's Day card with someone screaming for their life on it. While we're at it, we should add her to other cards, too. Valentine, you've got a hold on me. Really? You have Gigan and you're not going to use a line like, you've really got your hooks in me? I buzzsaw you from across the room and wanted to come say hi, Gan? Eh? I have a big crush on you is very direct, and I suppose that's good, but taken out of context, this card looks like Godzilla has a big crush on the woman, and that might be the worst news she's gotten yet. Also, when you're a kid, who do you give this card to? Is this how you actually admit a crush to a classmate? With this creepy-ass Godzilla card? The box comes with 4 of these. Do you give them to 4 crushes? I wouldn't change the line, but it's weird to me that the big is accented here. Why not make the word crush the standout? Show Godzilla crushing a building or something. Have a stomping good Valentine's Day. Oh wow, unlike the other cards, this one uses an image from the Heisei continuity. This time, lots of people are running and screaming while the sky is turned blood red. I wouldn't change the text here, but maybe I'd throw in, because we're all about to die and today is all we have. Oh good, let's bring Manila into the mix. I'm sure he's a hell of a wingman. Valentine, you're number 1. And also, surprise, I have a kid from a previous relationship. Again, 4 people will get this card. So, 4 number 1s? I'm overthinking this, I know. The back of every card has your standard to and from area, along with your favorite woman again. And this is cool, the box comes with a bonus sticker sheet. Godzilla stickers in America aren't common to stumble across these days, so I'm actually the most excited for this. Oh my god, the woman got not 1 but 2 stickers! Now you can make her terrified of anything you want! It's interesting how they mix in some Heisei era poster art here. It's even got the big boxier-faced Mechagodzilla. I'm glad Mothra made it to the sticker sheet, but it's kinda weird that she didn't make it to any actual cards. Skreonk! Ski-yong! As far as Valentine's Day cards go, this isn't such a bad gig for the Big G. Maybe some missed opportunities in the copywriting. If these classroom cards are gonna keep going, I wouldn't mind Godzilla getting another round. You'd think they'd at least let Legendary Godzilla get a crack at this whole thing. Me personally, I want to see Shin Godzilla cards. With god-awful puns. Oh, I love it. What are your classroom Valentine's Day card memories? What do you think about these Godzilla cards? I know sometimes they're still spotted in dollar stores. Share your thoughts below and remember, it's nice to love someone, but first you must love yourself. I'm gonna go love myself right now. Eh? Welcome to Playtime, where we celebrate imagination, play together, and maybe learn something we didn't know. Last year I did a video on the first wave of Godzilla Micro Battle playsets by Trendmasters. That video had a pretty big response, so I figured it's about time we talk about the second wave of playsets, which is both more creative and a lot harder to find. Like, a lot harder. But first I want to address this Godzilla 98 head playset, since in my last video, a couple of people told me I had forgotten to mention it. Well, there's a reason I didn't mention it. This is a different line. This one's called Micro Battle World. The head isn't even an environment, it's just a carry case so you can vomit some small toys. It doesn't even open and close on a hinge. You do get some buildings for old Zilla to smash, which is cool, and Zilla himself has a decent paint job. There's also this rocket net, so you can trap that quick iguana. The size scales are all over with this playset. Giant soldiers, giant helicopters. You can see why I didn't want to count this one. For what it's worth, there are a couple of these sets. The one I have is called Terror at Times Square. There's also Battle at Brooklyn Bridge. But whatever, let's get to our Micro Battle playsets. I've got 3 to show you. As you can see, between the 2 waves, we're now at 7 total micro playsets to choose from. Wait, 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How are they getting 7? Space Godzilla versus Godzilla in Tokyo. That must be some type of misprint. Look, it's not even on the back of the Wave 2 cards. It only shows 3 sets. So that makes 6 total. Boom! Godzilla and Mechagodzilla are getting a rematch. Now this isn't in a specific city, but instead, we're in a G-Force base, and look! New head sculpt! It's not a Godzilla head! I like it a lot. I'm really glad they mixed things up for Wave 2 and brought in some new case shapes. The Mechagodzilla that comes in this set is the same as the Mechagodzilla from the Wave 1 set. However, Godzilla looks different now. He's greener and in a much more threatening stance. You get some special G-Force military vehicles this time around, which, again, mixes things up. And there's even a mini Garuda toy this time. It doesn't exactly attach or even scale with Mechagodzilla, but it's still there, that's cool. Another way this set is different from the Wave 1 sets is that this one is meant to be kept at a 90-degree angle and not open flat. So this is more like your Mighty Max Polly Pocket sets. You can attach this missile launcher at the top here. Over here you have some kind of turret that you could swap out for a satellite dish, or maybe it's a maser cannon. You could put Mechagodzilla on this lift here, but I think it only goes up and down manually. Here's some kind of containment unit. I thought maybe it was a prison for Godzilla, but alas, he does not fit. Look at that. Now this is a micro battle playset. It might be my favorite one of the entire series. Just look how cool this looks. But like all Trendmaster toys, be careful launching missiles because they get distance. By the way, you could swap out the missile and launch Garuda instead. Like all these sets, you gotta move things around to make the head close all the way, but it's not too hard with this one. Moving away from that G-Force base and onto this G-Force base. But this one's Mecha King Ghidorah. It's a functioning base inside Mecha King Ghidorah. But since the playset itself is the rival monster, this set only includes a Godzilla and some G-Force members that are his same size. But hey, another Garuda! Let's devalue the heck out of this thing. So, sure enough, the chest opens to reveal a G-Force station. There's a special spot for get in there! A rocket launcher! Some kind of crane arm there. It doesn't do much. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with it, to be honest. Oh, this says I'm supposed to transport the Garuda and taser missiles to the launch pad with the transport crane. Alright, well, Garuda is ready for launch. Let's prepare the crane. Sir, the crane can't reach! We built it too short, sir! Okay, Red Soldier. We need to lengthen that crane before Godzilla— Ah, there he is! No! Mecha King Ghidorah is one of my favorite characters, but this set doesn't do much for me. The play environment is meh, there's no monster opponent for Godzilla, and just overall, this one looks kinda awkward to me. Also, this head has some green in it, possibly from sun damage. I'm pretty sure they're not all like that. You have 80% of a Mecha King Ghidorah. You're just missing his legs. Oh, and a wing now. The Washington, D.C. Biollante set is one of the most difficult sets to find. It's also the most similar to the sets from Wave 1, as it's back to a Godzilla head sculpt and a battle at a famous location. Like the New York set with the Twin Towers, this set has a Pentagon building split in half. Because everything Trendmasters did predicted 9/11 somehow. Look at this, we got the Washington Monument, the Capitol building. This set is no joke. Well, let's rip right into this thing and play with the goodies. Oh, I can't do it! This set was way too hard to find to just open it up. But luckily we don't have to, as I happen to have a loose set as well. And I forgot to mention in the last video that the Godzilla heads have a variant repaint version that's black, which is considered supercharged. So this is my first supercharged Godzilla head in my micro battle collection. Oh wow, I just puked to government. On this side, we have another ocean for Godzilla, similar to a couple of the Series 1 sets. You remove the plate here to reveal some of Biollante's vines, but where is she? Well, that's when you push up from the bottom and she emerges through the Pentagon. Well, her lower half does. You can then take her upper half and stick it to the bottom. I think this is the only Trendmaster's representation of Biollante to not have legs. That's interesting. There, now they're ready for battle. I really like this scaling. Biollante is bigger than Godzilla and very intimidating. On the other side, like I said, we have the Capitol building, the Washington Monument, the Federal Reserve building, which is supposed to pop back up when you hit this button, but mine's a little wonky. Here's a jet that's about the size of the White House. Grr, smash it! None of this is working out at all! Oh, these missiles can be flipped over to reveal the Lincoln Memorial, so that's a thing. This set is decent. Very straightforward like Wave 1. Also not at all easy to close like Wave 1. And that's it. We talked about all 6 Trendmasters Micro Battle playsets. We are finished. Good day. Hey, you're still here. Why are you still here? What? We're done. Cut to the end cards and patrons and all that. Well, it turns out we're not done, as there is indeed a 7th set. And it's even more rare than the Washington, D.C. set. It did seem to go to market, but only in small numbers in very random locations. It's a bit of a holy grail now for a lot of Godzilla collectors, and in the last year, I myself have had 3 close calls getting my hands on this for this video. 3 frustrating failures. Well, luckily the 4th time panned out. Here it is! Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla in Tokyo. I'd love to open this guy up and play with him, but this is a case where even I know it's better I don't. But I will tell you some cool stuff about it. Instead of Godzilla's head, this set closes to be Space Godzilla's head. Crystals play a huge part here, and there's a big one that Space Godzilla can go inside of. But when you close the head, that crystal becomes his head crystal, which is actually a really clever idea. It's strange that there's no Tokyo Tower or any temples or things very specific to Tokyo. Feels kind of like this could be any city. On the other side is the Pit of Doom, but really it's just a hole for the crystal to go through. But around the pit you can see the remains of Mecha King Ghidorah. I guess that base didn't work out very well. But how about this? This set gives you a Godzilla, a Space Godzilla, and a Mogira Land Falcon and Star Falcon. Nice little bonus there. Although the Land Falcon isn't removable, which is kind of stinky. Space Godzilla was the newest Toho baddie at the time of this release, and I've said it a million times, but I'll say it again. For Americans, these Trendmaster toys were their first exposure to Heisei-era creations, since the films wouldn't make it to the States for a few more years. Not a bad first impression for Space Godzilla. Now, I know what you're thinking. MIB, you've showed us all these Micro Battle playsets, but come on! I can't even put this in my pocket. Polly Pocket can go in my pocket, but these sets are too big! Well, if you need a Micro Battle that's even more micro, look no further than this watch by Nelsonic. Yes, you can strap on a watch that doubles as an even smaller Micro Battle playset. Nelsonic even used a shrunken version of the Trendmaster's Godzilla head case, which opens to reveal Hollywood. This time the buildings are part of the background and you still get a little Godzilla. You can be in detention, teacher takes your phone away, but joke's on them. I'm gonna play with my Godzilla watch. And if that's not small enough for you, check out the Trendmaster's Ultra Micro playset in my hand here. Do you see it? There's nothing there, you idiot. But believe it or not, we almost did see another wave of Trendmaster's Micro Battle playsets. This 1997 issue of Tom Art's Action Figure Digest includes a spread of Trendmaster's Gamera and Godzilla Doom Island toys. Most of the Doom Island line never wound up going to market, including some of the figures shown in this spread. But if you look in the back over here and squint your eyes real good, you can see packaging from Micro Battle headsets as part of the Doom Island line. Oh, and if this was part of Doom Island, there was a good chance those micro sets would have had dinosaurs. Okay, so I got a Godzilla toy here, but it feels like something's missing. About a year ago, I discovered an eBay shop called iPop Designs. They're located in Colorado here in the States, and they offer all sorts of 3D printed buildings that scale great with kaiju toys. Monster arts, NECA, even the soft vinyls look spectacular with these buildings. iPop Designs offers standard buildings as well as damaged ones. Some of their models even have some easy lighting. If you followed my toy photography on Instagram, then you know already what iPop Designs buildings can do. And now some of Instagram's biggest kaiju toy photographers are also using iPop Designs. The craziest thing about it all is how affordable these are. And that's good, because once you get one building, you're gonna want more. I've become friends with the fella in charge, and he really likes to support Monster Island buddies. In fact, there's a whole heck of a lot of buildings from iPop Designs toward the end of Destroy All Godzillas. This looks like a real city, but you don't even need this many, because just one building next to a Godzilla toy on your display will create a sense of massive scale that's missing when your Godzilla is alone. So go for it. Just follow this link to the iPop Design eBay shop. Be sure to follow it, as inventory is replenished on a pretty regular basis, and new models are coming up all the time. Like I said, iPop Designs has become a big supporter of Monster Island buddies, and I'd like to support them in return. If you're looking for some great buildings for your display, then I highly recommend you check out iPop Designs. Playtime! Yay! If you've ever gone window shopping for vintage Godzilla merch, you might have seen this in your travels. Magic rocks. Rocks grow underwater in minutes. This was in American stores in 1995, and it was put out by Craft House. And it gives you a chance to make a pretty cool Godzilla display while also learning science! There's a little bit of artistry involved here too, as they give you an uncolored Godzilla that you can paint with provided paint colors, along with the magic rocks and the container to grow them all in. If you stumbled upon this today, you might have the same question I had. Does it still work? Today on Playtime, we're gonna find out. But first, can we just acknowledge this really gummy-looking Godzilla right here with his 2 rows of teeth? He looks like he got hit with the Joker's laughing gas. So step 1 is painting. And by the way, how American is it that they want the base color to be dark green? Now this is absolutely true. My box has never been opened before, and look at the paintbrush. Do paintbrush bristles evaporate over decades? I'll have to go find my own brush now. Or maybe not. Yeah, the paint hasn't aged very well here, as you can see. And to be honest, it would be pretty unreasonable to think that the paint has kept for decades. This paint has straight up turned into pure rubber. But whatever, we're not here to paint, we're here to grow crystals. So we're gonna skip to step 2, the aquarium assembly. You start by putting this tinfoil-like floor in the container. Next, you place Godzilla inside along with the magic rocks that kind of look like oversized fruity pebbles. The instructions encourage you to spread the rocks around. And by the way, I think I forgot to say this before, but the Godzilla sculpture here is pretty okay. It's more detailed than it needed to be. I can see why the box had a do not consume warning. These kind of look delicious. Now, in order for the magic rocks to grow, you have to apply the magic solution, which straight up looks like a cocaine brick. It's hard like a brick, too. This also did not age very well. Next, I will pour the magic solution into this hipstery mason jar. Then we're gonna pour the magic solution into 2 cups of water. Feels like I'm baking cookies now. I wish I was baking cookies now. Give that a good stir, and to me, the solution did dissolve pretty well. Now we just pour this milky substance into the bowl with the fruity pebbles. God, I'm hungry. Want to make sure I get all of it in there. Oh, gross. Now, just as a friendly reminder, the box says right here that the rocks will grow in minutes. Well, I got minutes to spare. Let's see what happens. First, I just want to make sure I did this right. Discoloration here, and this will grow. Let this rock group grow for at least 6 hours? What? I guess when the box says it grows in minutes, they meant 360 minutes. And sure enough, we are a half a day later, and this has not changed. Let's pour it out anyway. Maybe there's a crystal hiding somewhere in here. And we are in luck, if by magic rocks we mean clumps of gross multicolored bleh. If you've ever seen this and thought about buying it, just know there's a good chance it won't actually work anymore. But gosh darn it, I promised you crystals in this video, so we're gonna make some crystals. So I went and got this National Geographic crystal growing lab. It's new. It also comes with a snazzy display base. Take that, Godzilla crystal magic rock thing. Wow, the instructions to this one are a full-blown textbook. I don't want to learn how to make crystals, I just want to make crystals! Now for this science experiment, I'm going to use this old Trendmaster Space Godzilla toy I have that's in pretty bad shape already. But if there's one kaiju that should grow some crystals around him, it's probably Space Godzilla. Problem is, he does not quite fit in the container that the National Geographic box provided. To solve for this, we will use the container that came with the other set. I've cleaned it out and fed the lumps to my dog. Instead of rocks, this one has different colored powders. We'll grow blue crystals around our Space Godzilla here. Now this one has us boiling water, so already we're getting a little more high-tech than the last kit. And hot dog, our boiling water is ready. We're gonna pour it right on top of the grains here, fogging up the sides. Hopefully Space Godzilla doesn't melt. And look at that, the water is turning a deep Easter egg blue. The instructions want you to stir this for a good couple of minutes, so I'm gonna follow it to the T because I really want to grow some crystals. And last, we must apply the Orb of Narinatha, which summons the power of the 5 moons to create matter where there was not matter before. Now, unlike the first kit, this kit wants you to wait a full 7 days to check on the crystals. Now, while I'm trying to grow blue crystals on Space Godzilla, I've also got a cup with purple crystals. That'll be our control group in this little experiment. Well, it's been 7 days, and look at this beautiful purple crystal formation from my control group. This was using the cup that was provided with the kit. This looks picture perfect! I gotta say, this is really cool. But how did Space Godzilla turn out? What the hell happened? Apparently, crystals grew on Space Godzilla, but not within the water like they were supposed to. Maybe it's because the foil base was more of a repellent for this mixture. I don't know. Can you even call these crystals? It looks like I put Space Godzilla in the freezer for a couple of hours. And here's the end product. Space Godzilla with a little tutu of frost. He looks like he's auditioning to be a ballerina in Frozen 3. The crystals are pretty secure onto the figure, too. I mean, sure, some of it flakes off, but some of it's on here really hard. Look at this. It looks like I just made a purchase from Walter White. So here's the Space Godzilla toy now with most of the crystals off of him, and he's in pretty okay shape, although there is some paint damage, probably from the boiling water. But I did get this beautiful crystal display out of the deal, and I am going to hold on to this. So in conclusion, if you want to grow some crystals, go get the Nat Geo box, and I guess this video just went way on a tangent, huh? Playtime! Yay! Making Godzilla versions of Monopoly and Jenga is such a no-dur, obvious idea that we should have had these years ago. Today on Playtime, we're gonna take a nice close look at these brand new Jenga and Monopoly Godzilla Special Editions. But first, how about some Playtime trivia? What you're looking at here is called Godzilla Game. It is a 1978 game that also saw a full release here in North America. But by what toy company? What toy company released Godzilla Game? Was it Ideal, Bandai, Hasbro, or Mattel? The answer in a little bit. So just for some comparison, here's a classic Jenga sitting next to the Jenga Godzilla Extreme Edition. And while the classic Jenga box does appear wider, I assure you that both towers are the exact same size. And just look at this gorgeous packaging art for Godzilla Jenga. I love it. Including a window so that you could see the pieces with the building designs on them was a nice touch. It's interesting that they reserved Godzilla for the side panels instead of the front panel, but since he's actively destroying the building, it works. Although, wait a minute. This is presented as one continuous image, and yet there's a Godzilla on both sides of the box. Are they saying there's two Godzillas? If you're like me, when you pop the box open and see the pieces, the first thing that's gonna race through your mind is, these look like blocks of clay. But nah, this is indeed a skyscraper for Godzilla to ravage. There's a lot of pieces in here, and we'll get to all of it. My only minor complaint is that the instructions are in a very inconvenient place. They're printed on the back of a cardboard Godzilla that is actually involved in the gameplay, so it's not the most convenient spot to put this important information. Like I said before, these pieces are the exact same size as traditional Jenga pieces. The older Jenga boxes just had more air in them. I personally really enjoy playing Jenga, and it's a nice change of pace for me to see blocks that are a different color design with windows printed on them. Alright, setup. The biggest Godzilla fan assembles the tower. Do not bring this game to G-Fest or a fight will break out. And here it is, my beautiful Jenga tower. So there are two ways to play this. The first way is just play it like a traditional Jenga game. The first player removes a block from somewhere in the tower and then places it on top of the tower. Player 2 then does the same thing, removes a block from the tower and places it on top of the tower. And it just goes around to all players until the tower finally falls. Now the new way to play this that's specific to this exact version is actually pretty neat.
First you gotta lay down this, I guess it's kind of like a game board here. Then you gotta place this cardboard Godzilla. And oh, don't forget to put his atomic breath in. Now this is kinda neat, it looks cool. Maybe I'm being a little too greedy here, but it might have been cool to have some sort of figure of Godzilla instead of a cardboard picture of him. And honestly, if you wanted to play it that way, you could swap out the cardboard with one of your soft vinyl Godzillas. So here's how it works. Player 1 rolls the die. The die will land on one of these symbols. Here we have an O with a slash through it. We have to consult our key to see what that means, but like I said earlier, the important information is printed on the back of the cardboard Godzilla. Anyway, we can see from the key that the circle with the slash just means that the player loses their turn. Player 2 rolls the die. Got another crazy hieroglyphic here. Godzilla advances 1 space, then the active player removes and stacks the amount of blocks indicated on the game board track. Then the play direction reverses. Which I guess doesn't matter much if it's only 2 players. So true to the directions, we will advance Godzilla 1 space. The space he lands on still says to pull just 1 block, so player 2 will pull 1 block and place it on top of the tower. Now I am getting mighty tired of pulling this Godzilla off of the game board to look at the directions and key on the back. So I propose a little hack. Take a friggin' picture of the hieroglyphic key with your smartphone. There, now I won't have to take Godzilla out of the game anymore. Player 1 rolls the die and gets arrow up 2 and a butt plug of some sort. The 2 means that Godzilla will advance 2 spaces. But luckily he's still landing on spots that say pull 1. But player 2 just rolled and got the butt plug times 2. When you consult the key, this means Godzilla does not advance, but the player has to pull twice as many blocks as indicated on the spot Godzilla sits. Godzilla's sitting on a pull 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Player 2 pulls 2 blocks. Now eventually, Godzilla is going to be sitting on pull 2, maybe even pull 3 blocks. That means that if Godzilla's on the pull 3, and you roll a time 2, you have to pull 6 blocks in a single turn. I actually really like this second version of how to play. It makes for much quicker games with higher stakes. It's a nice variant. If you don't own Jenga and you'd like to get one, I highly recommend the Godzilla version, because you get the classic Jenga game and you get this pretty neat variant. Back to our trivia question on what toy company distributed the 1978 Godzilla game. If you guessed D, Mattel, you would be correct. And this is just a great vintage game. I'd love to cover this on the show sometime in the near future as well. Now let's move on to Godzilla Monster Edition Monopoly. And while I will say that this box art is really cool, it does feel like there was a missed opportunity to make this a true crossover. I don't own a regular Monopoly, so for comparison here, we're gonna look at this side by side with this Japanese-only Ultraman Monopoly. So first we have our Godzilla dollars. A little bummed they don't say "In Godzilla We Trust," but maybe that's blasphemy, I don't know. The game board itself is just rich and vibrant with color. I love it. And this board is just brimming with references to the films. Instead of properties, there are famous monster locations. Owado Island, Godzilla Tower. There are some deep cuts in this game. Of course, the most coveted properties you're going to want are going to be Monster Island and Infant Island. There's even space locations, M Space Hunter Nebula, the Orion Constellation, each represented with the kaiju associated with that area. For contrast, here's the Ultraman Monopoly board, and it's a little less visually vibrant, a little more in line with what a standard Monopoly board would look like. And there are plenty of characters represented. I just don't feel like the graphic presentation is quite as strong with this one. In Ultraman Monopoly, all of the game pieces are different colored little plastic Ultramans. This is where Godzilla Monopoly really shines. In the spirit of traditional Monopoly, each piece here is a gorgeous little metal kaiju. They look great, they have some nice weight, they feel like value. Here's Godzilla and Rodan. And then we got a Mothra, King Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla. Manila? Why'd they include Manila? Give us Gigan or Anguirus or someone. Manila's gonna be the thimble of this version.
No giant diversions from standard Monopoly gameplay here. Player 1 rolls the die and advances their kaiju. If that player lands on the property, they have the option to purchase that property. If they decline, the property goes to auction. If player 1 owns the property and then player 2 lands on said property, player 2 will have to pay player 1 a slight fee. Eventually, a player will own all properties of a single color. When that happens, that player can begin building facilities on the property. If player 2 lands on one of these properties that has facilities built on them, then player 2 has to pay a lot more cash. Most games of Monopoly end with somebody getting frustrated and quitting. What else can I say? I'm really happy with Monopoly Godzilla Monster Edition. I love that it includes so much classic Godzilla lore. I'm really grateful it got released here in North America, and I'm just really happy with the visual presentation. I see no reason to not recommend the Godzilla versions of Monopoly and Jenga, especially if these are games you actually enjoy and will play. And as of this video, these are new and available in stores right now. How often do I get to say that on a playtime? Anyway, let me know what you think about the Jenga and Monopoly Godzilla editions in the comments below. And also let me know what other classic games deserve the Godzilla treatment. Personally, I think we're overdue for a Godzilla version of Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Hola mis amigos y bienvenido a Playtime, donde celebramos la imaginación, jugamos juntos y quizás aprender algo que no sabíamos.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Oh, and just like that, Taco Bell launched what will become its most famous ad campaign of its history. A chihuahua that says, Yo quiero Taco Bell, joining the Pop Culture Hall of Fame of most quotable ads. The Taco Bell Chihuahua campaign officially launched September 1997. Funny thing is, in real life, this chihuahua was a female named Gidget. The chihuahua was voiced by Carlos Alazraqui, who's voiced many notable cartoon characters, including Rocco and Spunky. And then along comes 1998, where the entire country was gearing up for this huge movie you might have heard of called... The hype for the upcoming TriStar Godzilla movie was so strong that Godzilla was licensed to a ridiculous amount of companies for toys and merchandise. Taco Bell was one of those many companies. And this would pave the way for the Chihuahua Godzilla crossover.
Hey, Godzilla! Want something to drink?
But before we deep dive Godzilla's history at Taco Bell, let's have a little trivia fun, shall we? In this video, we're going to be talking about the Godzilla toys that came in kids' meals at Taco Bell. Below are 4 more fast food chains, and I want you to tell me which is the one that never offered Godzilla toys in America in their version of a kids' meal. Was it A, Hardee's, B, Burger King, C, White Castle, or D, Carl's Jr.? The answer a little later. When it came to promoting the new Godzilla movie, Taco Bell went all in. For example, you could walk into a Taco Bell and buy one of these extra-large Godzilla cups with 4 different designs. Now, at the time of the making of this video, I only have 2 in my collection. But a fellow collector by the name of Victor was good enough to send me pics from his collection, so we can all get a look at all 4 cups. And they're really nice. I like their shine. The designs are really cool. I mean, yeah, they got these weird dad puns, but these are quality cups. I really like them. Along with the 4 cups, they were also offering this Godzilla cup holder, meant to go in your car so you could hold your extra large Dr. Pepper. You have to remember this was 1998, before cars came standard with a dozen cup holders. Now, I know for a fact this is not going to be the only time I ever say this in a video. A lot of the merchandise for Godzilla 1998 is solid. For example, look at this cup holder. It's a nice sculpt. It's painted very well. I really like the colors. I think it was a really good idea to position Godzilla like this, with his arms and tail wrapped around the cup, since he was often depicted similarly with the movie art. This was a quality product, at least one for Taco Bell to be selling. as of this video, you can secure one of these pretty cheap. I'm inclined to say that according to my research, this is probably one of the most common vintage Godzilla pieces that are still out there in the world. Taco Bell was also having a Find Godzilla and Win contest, where if you buy any gordita, medium or larger drink or combo, you would get a game piece. And according to this vintage paper bag I have here, thankfully not used, there were 2 ways to win. If you find Godzilla on your game piece, you're an instant winner. You could win Harley Davidson, trips to New York, Godzilla t-shirts, delicious Taco Bell food. Or you could use your decoder to reveal letters. Collect letters to spell words like Godzilla, claws, and tail to win cash. Now normally I would say the idea of losing track of a giant iguana is kind of a weird angle for a contest, but it did happen in the movie, so...
I think I need a bigger box.
The commercial for this contest actually resulted in some t-shirts that you might spot in a thrift shop from time to time. Can you imagine seeing somebody wearing this shirt and you have no context? What is that dog talking about? Is this a penis joke? So just to reiterate, so far we have 4 cups, a cup holder, and a contest. But while I was talking with my fellow collector Victor, he let me know about these lenticular cards. These cards were packaged in take-home Taco Bell Home Originals taco shells. We're not even up to the toys yet, because we still need to talk about this promotional CD-ROM from Eon Magazine that was available free at Taco Bell's. As you can see, it's almost like an entire website on a CD-ROM with pages for the cast and videos and stills from the film. There's even a game. If only I had a video game review show to check that out. It's telling me that my colors are wrong and that's why it won't display correctly. If anyone knows how I can fix this on Windows 98 running on an Oracle VM VirtualBox, let me know. And let's look at our trivia question again. The question was, which one of these fast food chains did not have a Godzilla toy in their kids' meal at any point in history? Carl's Jr. and Hardee's both had toys for the Godzilla animated series. They're owned by the same company. And believe it or not, of all places, White Castle offered Godzilla toys in 1990, thus making the correct answer Le Burger King.
Now Godzilla fits in a Taco Bell kids meal. Get him or one of 4 other action toys. Tanks, fighter jets, baby Godzillas, and helicopters.
But at last, let's head to the display table and check them out. And first up, we have this tank. Well, at first glance, I mean, it looks just like a standard tank. It's a tank. This is what tanks look like. Upon closer inspection, this tank's got a little battle damage. Guess it already went toe-to-toe with Godzilla. The only way you might know that this is related to Godzilla and not just a generic tank is this Godzilla Force sign on the back. It's good to know that once Godzilla started attacking New York, they had time to stop and rebrand all their military. So this thing is actually a water gun. You can put a little water in it and pump the top here and you can splash Godzilla with water. Just in case he has the same weakness as those aliens and signs, I guess. Okay, next up we have a Godzilla egg keychain, and oh god, what happened to it? Now this is supposed to be one of the baby Godzillas in a egg, maybe? An embryo? Well, regardless, you can see that there's a baby Godzilla figure in there, and inside this clear sack was supposed to be fluid of some sort. But time has not treated this well, as the fluid has all hardened into these green chunks. Yeah, looks like, unlike the other toys, this one had an expiration date. I mean, yeah, it has been over 20 years, but ugh, no. Here's another Godzilla baby egg toy, and this one thankfully did not rot. This one's more like a Weeble Wobble toy, where you can knock it around and it'll rebalance itself. You can even kind of drop it on its side and it'll figure out how to get right side up again. Sculpt is nice, wish it had a little bit more color to differentiate from the skin and the egg, but it's still a pretty cool toy. So we have another toy here that's gonna raise a lot of questions. So this one is some kind of rubble. maybe a street. And clearly Godzilla or one of the babies is trapped inside the rubble. This could be representing the destruction of Madison Square Garden at the end, in which case spoilers. And does that make this a dead baby Godzilla right here? This one's said to be a wobbler as well, but this toy doesn't want to weeble or wobble. My theory is that the two wobblers are not part of the main toy line, hence they're not in the commercial. I think these were alternative toys for restaurants to give to younger children, since they're the only toys in this collection that say 0+ on their packaging. The rest of the toys are marked for kids 3 and up. That said, I would not give this to an infant. Alright, now we got Godzilla himself. And I'm glad they did offer one full-body Godzilla toy. The way his tail and head are separated kind of makes you think that by wiggling his tail maybe it'll move his upper half or something, but I don't think this one really does anything. But still, it's pretty neat. For a smaller toy, the detail and paint job are good. I like that he's in his running stance with his head lower and his tail higher. I mean, this is just the right stance for Godzilla 1998 to be in. Look at that little face. That tiny little iguana face. Don't bite me! Now this next toy is my favorite, and there's a lot going on with this one. It actually comes in parts. The base part is a building, and there's Godzilla all wrapped around it again. Is he wearing nail polish? And it comes with this black pole thingy. And a helicopter. So you gotta pull the black thingy really fast so that the helicopter can fly away. Wow. Once again, upon a closer look, we can see some nice detail. Looks like Godzilla's playing peekaboo around the Chrysler building. The base part is definitely gonna be the nice looking part here, as the helicopter part, although it clearly looks like a helicopter, is meant to be lighter so it can fly easily. Like this. Fly, you fool! Let's try this again standing up. Here we go. Fly! Hey, not bad. The next toy is a laser gun? What is this? It's like a laser gun. It comes with a jet. If you look closely, you can see Godzilla Force on the jet's wings. Oh, this is actually a disc shooter, and if you look at the back of it, it looks like somebody's aiming the discs right at Godzilla's eyeball. That's one way to take him out, I guess. Just poke him in the eye and blind him a little bit. This comes with 3 yellow discs that you can put inside the gun and just pull the trigger to shoot the disc. The jet doesn't do anything, you just kind of put it on top as an ornament. I'll be honest, at first glance, I thought pulling the trigger would launch the jet. That would have been pretty cool. But it's still pretty neat to have this launcher thing that you can shoot your toys with. Pew pew! Pew! Take that! These are quality toys. They feel like you get something. They don't feel cheap, like they're just shoved into a kid's meal box. It's cool how instead of just being a sculpt, most of these actually do something. You can actually play with these. As a matter of fact, playing with these toys is more fun than watching Godzilla 1998. Even the expired egg one. But it just kind of shows you that they put some real effort into marketing Godzilla at Taco Bell. They gave Godzilla 1998 the A game. They thought this was gonna be huge. Like seriously, like the next Jurassic Park huge. But we all know that didn't happen! The toys came in one of these 2 Godzilla Kids Meal boxes. I'm actually glad I have these to show you guys, because they have some pretty cool art on them. Like, look at this one here, is Godzilla's kind of taking a nap. A guy with a camera running away. I've never done it, but it shows you all these spots where you can punch and fold, and it's kind of funny that it keeps telling you to punch out Godzilla. It even encourages you to use some of the toys, like the tank or the helicopter, to fire at the kids' meal box. To me, these little paragraphs of directions all over the box are kind of interfering with the art. I would have rathered it just been flat and featured this really nice art. So as you can see, and like I said earlier, Taco Bell really went all in on Godzilla 1998. But what happened next? In July 2000, Taco Bell retired the Chihuahua advertisements. In 2003, Taco Bell was forced to pay $30.1 million in compensation and $12 million additional dollars in interest to 2 men from an ad firm who claimed they came up with the Chihuahua concept. So I don't even know if this whole ad campaign was profitable, but anyone who was alive during it will probably remember it forever. In 2009, at age 15, Gidget was euthanized after having a stroke. And then in January 2014, Taco Bell officially discontinued offering kids' meal toys in its US stores. Is there a happier note to end this video on? No. Growing Godzilla! This was released by Trendmasters in the mid-1990s as part of their Godzilla King of the Monsters toy line, which was their first Godzilla line, and we'll get to it. Growing Godzilla was a small Godzilla that you soak in water for a long time, and it becomes a bigger small Godzilla. You could take it out and dry him off, and he'll be small again. But will it still grow in 2020, 25 years later? Asked nobody. But let's do this anyway. Playtime! Yeah! Check it out, I have this 1995 Trendmasters dealer's catalog, and we have to skip all of these cool toy pages and head to impulse buys. Yeah, this is the stuff that nobody ever plans to buy. They just pick it up because you might as well, it's there, like chapstick and bubblegum. These look like Happy Meal toys. They'd actually be less disappointing if they were next to burgers. Look, they don't even give you the information on this page. I gotta turn to page 64 in the back. They refer to this as a growing pod. Soak Godzilla overnight, he grows up to 500%. 500%! Look out, sweater, here comes my nipples! Like the catalog said, there are 3 trays. The one I have is San Francisco. There's also a New York tray and a Tokyo tray. And keep in mind, only the trays and cards are variants. The growing Godzilla itself is the same mold. Let's look at mine. You place Godzilla in water and what, he swims away to take a nap? No, he grows up to 500%. And look at that kid's kung fu grip. Kid looks like a toddler. Wait a minute, what's this qualifier here? By weight? By weight. And it's a sticker. Huh. When you look at the back of the card, they use the real estate as a catalog for the more expensive toys. But you can go down here to how to make your monster grow. Anyway, look, this entire paragraph is a sticker. Now the sticker says you put him in some water, wait 24 hours, and he'll grow up to 3 times his original size. But what is the sticker covering? I have to know. That sticker is glued on tight. I had to pick at this thing for an hour just to reveal this much. But I've uncovered enough to see that, yeah, the original copy says it grows 5 times its original size, not 3 times. So my guess is they printed these claims that the Godzilla grows 500%, then a lawyer or a test group or someone came in late and said, actually, we're seeing smaller growth than that and we'll get sued. So as a quick and cost-effective option, they slapped a sticker on the back that says 300%, and then they slapped a sticker on the front that made the 500% claim a weight qualifier. That's probably more about that than you wanted me to explore, but god damn it, it fascinates me. But let's just do our own test. I expected the Godzilla to be soft and spongy, but it actually feels more like a small toy unto itself. Like you'd get this in one of those supermarket egg machines, like a charm. Alright, looks like this fella is about 2 1/4 inches in height, about 1 1/4 inches in width. By the way, the tray is thin, cheap plastic. It doesn't feel like a commemorative metal sheet or anything. As a kid, I probably would have tossed this out. And now, he shall soak in the water. Not much else to say while we wait. Oh, but here's another angle I shot him at. And why waste good B-roll, you know? This is water. Look, not every Godzilla toy on this show is that exciting. It's an impulse buy for crying out loud. Ooh, what happened to my Godzilla? The packaging said I'd notice growth in a few hours. Well, I'm noticing lots of growths all over his body. He's also starting to feel rubbery and very slimy. It's like touching a manta ray. Let's see how he looks now. Oh no, he's crystals! He's crystals now! So he's still bumpy, maybe a little bigger, but now you'll see he's really starting to curve. The lettering on the back is starting to fade away a little too. He's definitely bigger, but I don't think he's finished growing yet. He's still very curved, and I have to imagine some of these bumps will smooth out. Definitely feel that weight increase, because this material is clearly just absorbing water to expand outward. But as is, roughly 24 hours later, we're at about 4 inches height and a little over 3 inches in width. That's definitely not 500% growth in 24 hours, but let's let this thing continue soaking. Behold! Now this is a Godzilla. You'll see he flattened and smoothed out much better. He looks good. I mean, he's still got that slimy texture. It's not really something you play with. More just as a novelty to look at and be like, ah, cool, a bigger Godzilla. But when all's said and done, now we're at about 4.5 inches in height, 3 3/4 wide. That is impressive growth, but if we're gonna go by height, it's short of 500% or even 300% of its original you know what, who cares? After all these decades, this little novelty still works. So I let this thing dry by itself, and in doing so, it took about a week for it to shrink back down to its package size. Here it is about 4 days in. You're just basically waiting for water to evaporate or seep out of him, I guess, but I would not recommend trying to speed the process by leaving him in the sunlight or blowing him with a hairdryer. I'm under the impression that kind of heat will dramatically shorten the lifespan of this piece. If you have this in your collection and you're keeping it mint on card, but you've been kind of curious if it still works, well, it does. And as for this little guy, I guess I'll just put this guy right here. I don't know. As a YouTuber, I get requests from random companies that go, hey, we'll send you some free stuff, you do a video review on it. I usually pass, but then Mojave.com told me they'd send me a pair of fake boobies and butt for free. And how do you say no to that? Mojave.com is an online shop specializing in Dakimakura, body-sized pillows from Japan. I personally am a side sleeper, so I enjoy wrapping myself around a good long pillow. But love Dakimakura, that's a whole thing. That's where you get your favorite anime characters or what have you printed on both sides of the pillow. And Mojave's got them all. Evangelion, Attack on Titan, Kingdom Hearts! It's got the f***ing ponies. I'm not showing you the f***ing ponies. And then you can customize your order. Pillow size, material, add breasts. Why doesn't Amazon have options like this? You can buy fake boobies, lifelike quality, or a fake butt. And you can put them in your pillowcase and make them a little more 3D. I had them send me this case of Rika Takarada from Skridman, a show I happen to love. I don't even know what parts of this I'm allowed to show you on YouTube. She's not naked on either side, but... As for my review of the pillow, I mean, it's a long pillow. It's comfortable as hell. Good material. Art's cool. Let's get to the fake TNA. Look, I'm not trying to be perverted here, but do you have any idea of all the different ways I can use fake ass cheeks? Now, I'm asking. I'm seriously asking. I guess they make a good doorstop. Wrist protector while operating a mouse. Place to store my pens. Stress management. Bongos. I put the boobies in the butt and the pillow, and yeah, the boobs and the butt are in the pillow now. Do they feel lifelike? Actually, the nipples are pretty close to... Look, it's not really my thing personally, but if you wanted to order one of these pillowcases, I can indeed confirm that Mojave.com is a legit site that ships decent goods. They've definitely got a vast selection, and any website where there's a drop-down menu to let you add boobs to anyone can't be that bad. Actually, check it out. There's a custom section if you wanted to make an MIB pillow and give it boobs. If you're still with me at this point, then you might be the type of person that would enjoy a 10% discount code on all orders made at Mojave.com. The discount code is MoBuddies. That's great. Links are below in the description. Shop now. Don't forget to use the discount code MoBuddies for 10% off. Playtime! Yay! In May of 1998, after over a year of non-stop hype, a new American Godzilla movie hit the big screens. Garbage. Garbage! In September 1998, a Saturday morning cartoon series would premiere called Godzilla the Series. It was a direct continuation of the movie, and also much, much better than the movie. Quite good, actually. The Godzilla in this series is the only surviving offspring of the big screen 98 Godzilla. The show aired on Fox Kids and lasted 2 seasons, with a total of 40 episodes, 2 of which did not air. The Trendmasters company, who had previously flooded shelves with toys based on the 1998 movie, had prepared a toy line for this cartoon series as well, but these toys never made it to retailers. As a result, there isn't much in the way of merchandise for Godzilla the Series. Enter Hardee's! In 2000, the fast food chain Hardee's offered toy premiums of Godzilla the Series in their cool combos for kids meals. It took some doing, but I got my paws on all 4 toys. But before we take a look, let's do a quick playtime trivia question. In 2002, Burger King had a toy premium of this cartoon character dressed as Godzilla as part of their Creepy Classics line. Was it A, Bart Simpson, B, Invader Zim, C, SpongeBob SquarePants, or D, Donald Duck? The answer a little later. If you're not familiar with Hardee's, it's likely because it's only located in one section of the United States. On the west coast of the US, you may be familiar with Carl's Jr. Both of these restaurants started as separate entities, but in 1997, Hardee's was purchased by Carl's Jr.'s parent company, and the 2 restaurants have since been combined into one unified brand. But enough Forbes talk, let's talk about toys. From the packaging, we can get a look at all 4 figures and their official names, like the Leaking Lizard Squirter. Why yes, who amongst us men has never had to leak the lizard using our squirter? Who could have guessed there'd be all these accidental penis jokes at Hardee's? Alright, heads up, I'm gonna have to devalue some rarities for this video to continue. And these guys are rare. This might be hard for some of you to watch, so while I do this, I'm just gonna cut to some footage of me petting my poodle Andy in the snow. Ta-da! Godzilla the Series premiums, as they would appear the day you receive and open them. Let's deep dive these guys and see what they're about. Starting with this huge, slimy-looking egg case. And whatever's in there, I'm really glad that the egg has these air holes it can breathe through. Oh, leaping lizards! It's a leaking lizard inside! This egg feels very extra. The baby Godzilla toy alone is good enough, but the egg is really cool, and it's very satisfying the way it fits together. And I like that it's just clear enough that when I put the figure inside, you can tell he's in there without fully seeing him. Alright, let's move on to the baby Godzilla, who's very purple. Maybe he's baby Barney instead. You're supposed to squeeze the toy to shoot water, but that is not easy. Everywhere I squeeze it, I feel like I'm forcing the toy to deform. I think I like the egg more than the squirt toy. This is the lizard launcher. You know, Hardee's, this lizard has a name, and it's Godzilla? Junior? Zilla Jr.? Gino Jr.? You know what, lizard is fun. This is a toy in which Godzilla is wrapped around a building, and at the top of the building is a heat helicopter that can fly away. While there was a heat copter in the series, it did not look much like this helicopter. And I know what you're thinking, this premium looks familiar. That's because back when I reviewed the Taco Bell premiums for the Godzilla movie, there was a very similar toy. But when you put them side by side, you can see that the Hardee's toy started from scratch. In the Hardee's toy, this isn't the Chrysler building, it's just some generic building. It's a birthday cake stack of 4 cubes, that's all. I like how it happens to be that the parent Godzilla can wrap its arm fully around the side of the building, but Junior doesn't have quite as much reach. On the Hardee's toy, instead of a ripcord, you have a pull tab to make the helicopter lift off. Lift off! Go! Please? What is it with me and these helicopter toys? I can't fly them! Man, this pull string makes me nervous. I have no idea how secure it is inside, and I'm worried I'll pull the string right out. But at the same time, you need to give it a really good tug to get the copter to spin fast. I think the Taco Bell version of this is just better across the board. The sculpt, the paint job, the function. But this one isn't bad at all. I like it a lot, actually. Here's Hothead Godzilla. Alright, they didn't call it something stupid like Light Up Lizard or something. This one's really simple. You push a button on his belly, and this plastic inside his mouth lights up. Unfortunately, the battery appears to be dead, and there's no way to replace it without destroying the whole figure. But I can confirm from another YouTube video that the light is red, which is interesting. You think they would have gone for the green. This figure's got a smidge of articulation in the arms. Mine's got some kind of rot or dirt or something here. I don't know what this is. Maybe it somehow came from the inside with a dying battery and just crumbed its way out. I don't know. The last item is the Heat Seeker Stamper, and this is actually my favorite one. It kind of looks like the ship in the series. I mean, it could have been a generic ship and they just slapped these stickers on to make it Heat, but it's nice to have a version of the Heat ship I can hold. And it gets better because this ship is also an ink stamp. Yeah, it's got some Godzilla footprints here and you could put some ink on it, although this ink pad's not looking great. It's actually looking a bit rough. This toy also comes with all of these small sheets of paper. There's not much going on with them. They're one-sided, Godzilla logo and stuff, but to my amazement, over 20 years later, the stamp still works. And I'm sure a drop of water would bring it even more back to life. Too bad about the circles around the footprints, though. That was always an issue with these kind of stamps. Yeah, it turns out these premiums are somewhat rare. I feel lucky I was able to get all 4 in one swoop to share with you guys. It's a shame that this is all there really is for Godzilla the series merch, but hey, we got to leak a lizard. You know what? Stay with me. A little bonus items coming up. Going back to our trivia question, which was, in 2002, Burger King had a toy premium of this cartoon character, dressed as Godzilla, as part of their Creepy Classics line. The answer is A. Bart Simpson. The Creepy Classics line featured various Simpson characters dressed as famous movie monsters. They'd be next to a TV screen able to display 2 different images. Representing Godzilla here is Bart Simpson. And it's funny, we've seen Bart as Godzilla a couple of times, but here he's dressed like Godzilla. And the head is down. That's interesting. As with all the toys in this line, the Simpson figure is removable. I can't say I'm in love with this wide open mouth Bart's got with his tongue sticking out that looks terrified when you turn it to the side. And I really do wish that the Godzilla head was up. And then looking at the TV screens, these are neat. It was a nice touch that they made this TV screen look kind of like a city. Pulling the tab on top is what reveals the next picture. It's a neat little trick. And we get to see what Bart would look like if he put the hood up. He's playing Godzilla with his sister's Malibu Stacy dolls. And she's shouting, "Mom, make Bart stop." Although with her eye contact, it looks like she's calling the doll mom. And then we also got King Homer. Now, King Homer is a known character because he actually appeared in the show. So I guess it makes sense that Homer is King Kong instead of dressed like King Kong. King Homer's got a big seam that's cutting him in half, and it's really unfortunate. Looks like a Death Star trench. Other than that, I like him. I like that they included the chains. He's holding Marge, that's a nice touch. Homer's also got a really creative screen. Very Art Deco. Did I use that right? King Homer is eating some kind of burger, but when you flip it, you'll see that it's actually a Krusty Burger billboard. Either that, or it's Aqua Team Hunger Force. By the way, I really like that everything is in color except for Homer. I don't know why that's so funny to me. If this was normal human Homer, I would say that Homer and Bart actually scale really well together, so I'm glad that they made the adults bigger than the children. But if that were the case, then Bart's mom would be about the size of his nose, so... But these are really neat. If you're a Simpsons fan, I hope you looked into this. And that's a wrap, we did it. We did Hardee's/Carl's Jr., and we got a little bit of Burger King in there. But we're still not done talking about all of the Godzilla fast food premiums that are out there. So keep an eye out for one more video like this in the future. Do you remember the Godzilla toys from Hardee's and Carl's Jr.? What about the Simpsons toys? Let me know in the comments below. I'm gonna go donate another pint of blood to help pay for these toys. Later. In the 1990s, Trendmasters Toys acquired the license to make and sell Godzilla toys here in America. At the time, it was their biggest license. The Godzilla King of the Monsters series gave us action figures of Godzilla, Rodan, Mechagodzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Mecha King Ghidorah, and would also add characters like Gigan and Biollante. And if you wanted to buy these figures, oh my god, you had options! Buy them in 4-inch scale, 6-inch scale, 10-inch scale! Buy them with a button that makes them roar, or no button! Get them in singles or 2-packs! There are so many configurations and versions of these figures that you could fill a warehouse with them all, and then dive into them like Uncle Scrooge! Even more interesting, these toys and their appearances and stories are based heavily on the Heisei-era films. But Americans wouldn't be able to watch the Heisei-era films until years later. So these origin stories have no context whatsoever. We have no idea who Mecha King Ghidorah was, or that he's supposed to be a good guy. Same with Mechagodzilla. I thought he's an alien bad guy, but now he's a government-created good mecha? What? At the time, I just figured these designs were just part of a 1990s-fication of the Godzilla monsters. I mean, all of this just fit the decade so perfectly. But today, what I want to focus on is a very specific part of this line. Godzilla Force, a team of 4 superhumans who defend the Earth from giant monsters. While the concept of G-Force has appeared in Godzilla films, this Godzilla Force was made up of 100% original characters making their first and only appearance ever. Why would Trendmasters try to add a team of superhumans in different color suits to the whole mix? I don't know for sure, but... Yeah, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had just taken the country by storm in 1993. I have to believe that Godzilla Force, at least in some small way, was an attempt to capitalize on that craze. So, who are the Godzilla Force? What, you wanted character names? In classic Trendmasters fashion, they saved some costs by giving all 4 team members the same backing card. Which means the front of the card just says Godzilla Force. On the backs are the same 4 profiles. No pictures of the Godzilla Force toys, mind you, except for the Garuda warship here, which they made part of this narrative. So what do you say, guys? Do you want to meet the Godzilla Force? Well, too bad! First up is Squadron Leader Pete Richards. But you can call him Colonel Richards. He's 36 and on his 2nd year as team leader. His extraordinary ability to lead troops is matched by his physical ability to travel at a top speed of Mach 1. Oh, you just throw that in there. Last line of the card. Oh, by the way, he has a superpower. And that's the thing you're gonna notice with all 4 team members. They have abilities, but we have no idea how. Was Richards born a mutant? Was he enhanced by the government? Was he bitten by a radioactive flash? Pete comes with these special shoes. Is that how he runs fast? He also comes with this gun, which is either a cyber cannon or a breath neutralizer, according to this misleading card, which makes it look like you're gonna get both. So here's Pete, your stereotypical 1990s white male leader. And look at this, right out of the packaging, he's got a white paint mark on the side of his head. Maybe they thought Pete Richards was really Reed Richards. And here he is all suited up. It's pretty cool. Oh yeah, all of the characters come with this plastic Godzilla Force badge. So if you get all 4 team members, you'll have 4 of these big badges that take up a quarter of the packaging. It's not exactly the same, but the badge is very similar to the officially licensed Godzilla merch symbol. Now listen, we can't have a 1990s supergroup without one black guy. Boom! David Easton. He's got glasses, so that means he's smart. He's got a gun. One of those 2 guns. And this thing. What is that, the ultimate nullifier? David's in the red suit, but you wouldn't know it by this card art, which looks like he's the whole damn rainbow. Speaking of which, let's check out his stats. According to this, while David was studying for his PhDs, he discovered he's also a precog of sorts, able to forewarn against Godzilla's impending attacks. What's with this drop shadow on this text? It's like they know the story is full of holes, so they don't want you to be able to read it. If we have a token African American on a team, you know we also need a token woman. Meet Margaret O'Brien, the woman. Call her O'Brien. This flying ace can also generate a bioelectric magnetic field using her telepathic energy. I guess she can make a force field, which for whatever reason is a power exclusive to women. I'll be honest, I think the paint complexion of all these characters is a few shades darker than it was meant to be. Look how pale they are in the catalog pictures. What is this? What is going on with her neck and hair? This is just plain awful. As you can see, she'll be playing the part of the White Ranger. And just so there's no confusion about who's who, they gave O'Brien's armor boob plates. O'Brien comes with the same gun that the Colonel had, but also a net. But why? You can't catch Godzilla with a net. Maybe it's to catch herself a man. There's one more member of the team, and it's another generic white guy. Oh, come on. Even the tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills mix things up slightly more. It's Michael Van Horn, but call him Dutch, like the Ed O'Neill film. Dutch is 23 and able to withstand intense physical punishment. Is that his power or his kink? He's got the lifting strength of 20 men. I haven't pointed it out yet, but you can clearly see these guys all articulate at the arms and legs, and that's about it. Suit up, Dutch. Time to go fist fight Godzilla. Dutch has a shield, which is an odd choice for someone who can withstand intense physical punishment. And he's got that other gun. Dutch. The Godzilla force is complete. They're not bad, if anything, pretty generic. If you saw these loose at a flea market, you might think they're like Power Ranger bootlegs or something. As mentioned earlier, their ship is the Garuda, and it looks like Garuda went through a color change from all silver to black with silver wings. Now get this, Garuda comes with a pilot, and depending on which Garuda you buy, you can get any of the 4 team members. I happen to get Dutch. He can bend at the waist to go from standing to a sitting oops. It's a cozy fit in the cockpit of Garuda, which, by the way, has 2 launchers, a missile launcher, and a grappling hook thing. And because this is a Trendmasters toy, you gotta be careful because these missiles go far. I like this ship, I like the shine. I'm glad they didn't make it all chrome. Look at what it says for Garuda. First, it actually mentions how it's named after the Asian bird god. That's cool. But this last sentence, the Garuda warship was the best hope to destroy Godzilla. Was? What do you mean was? What happened? I didn't even play with it yet, and you're telling me it's already destroyed? What's funny is the back of Garuda's card has almost the same text, but changed the was to is. Guess someone caught it, although there's still a was up here. Classic Trendmasters. Oh my god, this drop shadow. It's like they lifted the text 5 inches off the card. So, as Godzilla fans will tell you, the Garuda appeared in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, where it was able to attach to Mechagodzilla's back to create Super Mechagodzilla. Can the toy do it? It says on the Garuda packaging that it can, although half of this text is going under the bubble. Attached to Mechagodzilla? Which one? Well, it certainly can't attach with the 6-inch figures, even if the scaling looks pretty okay. Get on him. Get on him! We gotta go bigger. We need the Mechagodzilla giant action figure. He lights up, he roars, he sees your every move. Ah! Don't look at me! But there's nothing here about Garuda, just this mysterious extra plate the figure comes with. Knockdown buildings included? What buildings? Do you mean the cardboard? Frickin' Trendmasters. Even the back of the box offers no hint that this toy connects with Garuda. It doesn't even show Garuda. Don't you want to show the accessory you want people to buy that goes with this toy? As you can see on the back here, there's a compartment held by a tiny screw. You would be totally forgiven if you thought that this was for just the batteries and had no idea what to do with this extra piece. Because they don't tell you, you see. But not only does Garuda fit on this piece, it's a perfect fit.
I hate tiny screws. I hate them, I hate them, I hate them so.
Ugh, does this brand of battery even exist anymore? Let's get some new batteries in this guy's stat. Now we'll screw on the new backplate, and boom! Mechagodzilla's wearing Garuda like a backpack. It's really easy. You think it might be worth mentioning anywhere. The balance is now a little off, so I'll have to adjust his legs. Also, the Garuda cockpit swings open way too easily. It doesn't snap into place at all. That part's annoying. But otherwise, what we're looking at here is a Super Mechagodzilla toy that was available in America even when the movies weren't. Oh, and it looks like JCPenney had an exclusive box set where you can get both the Mechagodzilla and Garuda together. Jesus, they didn't even try with this packaging, did they? Godzilla Force has a little bit more of a presence in the Trendmasters toys. I already did an entire video on these Micro Battle play sets, but we'll need to do just a very quick revisit. Both of these sets come with a little Garuda, and my Mecha King Ghidorah set came with a tiny Easton and Dutch. In the comic book that comes with a lot of these toys, like the 10-inch Mechagodzilla, Godzilla Force is name-dropped, but these soldiers don't look like Godzilla Force at all. You couldn't give O'Brien one panel? You couldn't name-drop Dutch? These are original characters. A comic book was the perfect way to at least acknowledge them. You have to wonder if there were conversations about a possible cartoon show or hell, a live-action show. Imagine they tried splicing American footage with Heisei-era Godzilla footage. That'd be nuts. Well, Godzilla Force did get a very, very brief live-action appearance in a commercial.
The Godzilla Force and Mechagodzilla. The Godzilla Force.
Look at these guys. I mean, the costumes are accurate, but they look like they're about to go do a round of laser tag. Even the commercial glosses over how Garuda attaches to Mechagodzilla. You know, vehicles combining was the whole Power Rangers shtick, right? Needless to say, the whole Godzilla Force angle did not take, and it was quickly dropped. And that would be it for human toys until the 1998 movie. And that's a shame! Who's to say we couldn't have had a Godzilla Saturday morning cartoon if more of these guys sold? But instead they tanked. They had two psychics on the team, and I guess neither one saw that coming. Hey, it's MIB. In last week's Playtime video, we covered this Trendmasters 1990s toy line called Godzilla Force. What can only be summarized as a blatant attempt to cash in on the Power Rangers craze that was happening at the time. Which is hilarious because, as a lot of you guys pointed out in the comments, these Godzilla Force helmets bear a striking resemblance to the Power Rangers Operation Overdrive helmets that would come years later. If you haven't watched that video, go check it out. But I'm here today to tell you that there's just a little bit more to the story, because time is a flat circle. Literally the day I finished writing the Godzilla Force episode, I saw an auction come up on eBay for 3 loose figures. 2 of them we covered on a show, but then there was this third guy. Who's this guy? Never want to pass up on a good toy mystery, I scooped the figure up immediately. And here he is in all his glory. You'll see that it's a very similar mold to the Godzilla Force Trendmasters figures, except this mysterious fella has a Z on his chest. He's got a chrome body with black limbs, so he's sort of a reverse of the Colonel figure here. And his head sculpt is completely different from all of them. Now, all signs are pointing to this figure being a simple bootleg of the Godzilla Force figures. You'll see on the back he's got a screw, always a good sign of a bootleg, and he lacks the Toho trademark information that you'll find on the other figures' upper backs. Unlike the other guys, this guy's foot declares that he's made in China. He didn't come with any helmet or accessories. If I put one of my spare helmets on him, it rests on him fine, but it's not a snug fit. If I turn him upside down, this helmet will fall off. Here's everything I know about Trendmasters bootlegs. They do exist. There's this picture that's on the net with a Godzilla bootleg Trendmasters toy, but you'll notice that he's in a Godzilla Force card. There's also these 2 guys that look exactly like Godzilla Force figures, except you can tell from their packaging that they are indeed knockoffs. But what's this guy's story? What kind of packaging did he come in? Are there others? Maybe he came from one of those bootleg superhero packs that has Superman, Spider-Man, Shrek, and Lightning McQueen from Cars. I would guess he had a Godzilla Force card just like these other bootlegs. And the final clue that it's a bootleg came from the fact that when I contacted the seller and asked if he could remember where this toy came from, he mentioned that his father bought it at a flea market. I shared this figure in the Facebook group Trendmasters Prototype Toys, where all the experts on Trendmasters toys are. And nobody has ever seen this figure before. Although a fellow in the group named Hugh gave him the name Bobby Bootleg, and I'm deciding that's official. I can't find any pictures of this guy on the web anywhere. And it's entirely possible there are more of him floating out there, but without his packaging, there's no context to know what toy line he was supposed to go to. So if you've ever seen this figure before, I would love to know about that in the comments section. Can you confirm what packaging he came in? Does anybody recognize this head sculpt from another toy line? Is the Z supposed to stand for anything? Z-Force? I have a lot of cool Godzilla bootleg toys, and I do plan on doing a video on them soon. But I gotta say, this one fascinates me. And I can't be the only person in the world with one of these in his house. So if you have any information on this toy, or at least if you've seen it before, please let me know below. And one last thing, in my last video I poked a lot of fun of the tropes of these 1990s super teams. Well, it's almost like Captain Bobby Bootleg here fulfills one more trope, that all of these teams have a mysterious extra member. A loner with a conflicted past. So it's hilarious to me that this bootleg actually fits into the trope narrative perfectly. But he needs a weird superpower like the other members of the team. Got any ideas? Drop them in the comments below. Later, guys.